As I said, of course, of Krista Berg and a spaceman Kim travelling, wrapping up the naughty alarm clock and wrapping up my day here and my time at Highland Radio. I have to share
You're
that.
burning your bridges, Kevin, because for the last maybe 10 days you've been saying tomorrow's my last show, right?
No, I have not.
So you might never return to Highland Radio? Is that what the problem
you
is
never
here?
say never.
You have said never, Kevin. You keep saying never.
No, well, you never know. You never know what could happen down the line. It could be back here down the line. But listen, I have to share a reason why that their song. People ask me, what's going to be your last song? Yeah. Obviously, I became a daddy last Monday, and that was the first song. When I came up from the labour ward, that was the first song that I heard. It was playing on the radio in the background. It's kind of stuck with me since. So I thought, I'm going to go out with something that's more recent and something that's kind of special for me.
Of course that's for wee Finn and Danielle and yourself. Mm-hmm. A beautiful family, and we wish you all the success going forward. What has been your highlight of your 6 odd years here?
Oh, I don't know. We've had some brilliant.
Remember back in the days, you didn't even have a way to get to work.
I know, getting the bus, hopping.
What do you mean getting the bus?
I had to get the bus. I had to get the bus before that.
No, I picked you up every morning.
No, well, not beforehand though. I had to get the bus.
I don't want to make this about me.
Mm-hmm. I had to get the bus over, and then Cardine O'Connor actually used to work here. Used to give me a lift up as well in the mornings before I started travelling the Greg Hughes Express, So no, I have a couple of brilliant days. I was thinking actually yesterday about the OB we done in Malin Head, which was where me and Seamus McGettigan, we'd gone over and we'd set up in Malin Head. Ali Farn, who slept in that morning, I was ringing away at him because he was to give us power.
All the secrets coming out now.
Yeah, he slept in and he answered, and basically the OB was switched to iMotors in Malin Town as opposed to Malin Head, so we had to fire everything into the bus and hightail it over the road. And I just remember sitting in the back of the bus with my arms on the laptops, hoping that nothing would fall. So,
And whose show was that?
It was yours,
typically.
And you know something? You're actually the calmest man in the building. I was probably like a wee bit like an antichrist of the truth be told.
There's no point.
I was never as glad to see. I think it was Sean. Seamus' brother, I think it is Sean you call him. He came and he gave us power, and miraculously, I don't know how the show went on air at 9 o'clock. It was unbelievable.
It did though. All right, well listen, come here. You enjoy your Christmas. Your first Christmas with your family. It's in its entirety it is now, and it's been great having you here, of course, and we wish you all the success in the future.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to you coming back with your tail between your legs.
Thanks very much. I just want to thank all the listeners and everything as well too. I've become great friends with people, chatted to a load of people even weekly and stuff since I started here, and it's been great too. I've been here for the last 5 years, and I came here obviously in work experience before that, and it's been brilliant. I've loved every single minute.
All right, okay. Well, Kevin, obviously you'll be greatly missed by all of us here and all of the staff. That is us here, isn't it? And all of the listeners, of course. Mm-hmm. All right, listen, brilliant stuff, and best of luck for the future, and I'm sure, of course, our paths will cross again down the line. Okay, Kevin, take care of yourself.
Thank you very much.
That is Kevin's last show, unless something happens between now.
He could be off tomorrow.
Okay. Listen, thank you very much for that, Kevin, and as I say, in all jokes aside, the very best of luck with your future. Okay. It is just 3 minutes past 9 now as we start the 9 till noon show for this Wednesday. Let's get a news update, and it's over to the ever-patient Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There's a warning that lives right across Donegal are at risk. It comes as it submerged. 8 ambulances were backed up outside Letterkenny University Hospital yesterday. Donegal Deputy Podgy McLaughlin is to raise the matter along with the ongoing crisis at the hospital's ED with the Taoiseach in the Dáil today. He's again calling for urgent intervention from government.
This is a repeated situation that we have. It's a profound crisis. Minister Stephen Donnelly was forced to come to Donegal recently to engage with the GPs, with the consultants, and we need action. We need action. We need an understanding of the neglect of the hospital, of the underfunding, and we need an intervention to stop this from happening.
The Irish government has been accused of turning a blind eye to the mishandling of the case of Dennis Donaldson. His family have issued a statement following the 26th adjournment of the inquest into his death. The 55-year-old was shot dead in Glenties in April 2006, where he had been hiding out after being exposed as an informer. Sean O'Regan has more.
The Donaldson family say their ordeal involves state agencies north and south in uncovering the facts about a criminal conspiracy which resulted in the murder of Dennis Donaldson. The police ombudsman previously found a corporate failing under Article 2 of the ECHR by state agencies in the north in how they treated Mr Donaldson and his family. The family believes state agencies in the south appear to be acting with the same disregard for their rights, most recently with the 26th adjournment of the inquest last Friday. In the statement issued through their solicitor, the family say the Irish state and others stand in the dock of public hypocrisy if they continue to criticise the UK government's approach to legacy while turning a blind eye to the mishandling of the case of Dennis Donaldson and the injustices they're facing. The family says they will not accept this and are urging others in the authority to help them.
A final deal at the COP28 Climate Change Summit in Dubai has been approved. It calls for the world to wean itself off planet-warming fossil fuels, but it stops short of calling for them to be phased out. But the text of the deal has been criticised by some activists who say it doesn't go far enough to cut emissions. Speaking from Dubai, Environment Minister Eamon Ryan says he feels it's a breakthrough.
For 30 years, we've had the United Nations meeting, and this is the 28th time. And we've never really addressed the core of the problem, and today we just have. And it's not just a signal and the start of the end of fossil fuels, it's also the start of a new renewable and efficient and more just energy and economic future is the potential. And we have to deliver it.
Weather now cloudy with a few showers this morning, but they will quickly die out with some rather clear and bright spells developing. Highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
This Christmas at Super Value, we have great offers to help you share the magic, like Super Value Fresh Irish Tomahawk Steak, save 33%. Super Value Signature Taste Party Food, 2 for €8. Selected Club, Pepsi Max and 7up 24-pack cans, €10. Plus, get money off vouchers every week on the Real Rewards app too. Share the magic this Christmas with Super Value in-store or online.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's 7 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 13th of December 2023, and you're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show. It's good to have you on board for the middle show of the week, and what a show it is. Okay, we have so much stuff coming up. Stuff to keep you informed and entertained, of course, but lots of fun as well. We are going to have, and I can reveal exclusively for you right now, we're going to have €2,000 to give away later on in the show. €2,000 in cash euro money. It is part, of course, of our Granda Day over 10 days as we lead up to the big Christmas card draw. We obviously didn't have a phone answered yesterday, so that means it's rolled over to this show. So we've got €2,000 up for grabs on this programme. So if you bought a ticket for the card draw, as best as you can, please try and have your phone ready for us to ring. I can tell you it probably will be in the last hour of the programme, okay? Which means that if you want to enter that competition, there's still €9,000. What day is today? There must be €9,000. Yeah, there's still €9,000 to give away. 2 of that will be given away today, fingers crossed. And the car as well, all for a tenner. Go on to our website, highlandradio.com. Give us a call on 07491 25,000. We can process it over the phone if you prefer, or in fact, if you're in and around Letterkenny, call in to us at the man at the top, Letterkenny, and we'll help you out there. We also have our fantastic competition thanks to McGee's. I'm going to tell you more about that a little later on, but let's get down to the serious business of the newspapers this morning. We'll start with the Irish Times, and a young Moville woman who has been battling health issues for almost 10 years has spoken of her frustration with the health service. Natasha Crumlish, a mother of 2, has told of her struggle to receive proper care since discovering a lump underneath her tongue in 2014. At a public meeting in Letterkenny on Thursday night, Ms Crumlish spoke passionately about the lack of adequate oral maxillo care in the county. Oral maxillo is the diagnosis and surgical care of the mouth, jaws, skull, face, head and neck. The Finn Valley Voice this morning, a positive news story of just shy of €28,000 for Twin Towns Lost and Found dogs. The tireless work of Twin Towns Lost and Found Dogs has been acknowledged with funding of €27,850. Two other Donegal animal welfare charities have been allocated a total of €87,600 in funding announced by the Minister for Agriculture. Let's go to the Donegal Post this morning, and Christmas came early for the Blue Stack Foundation in Donegal Town thanks to a kind-hearted donation from businessman Tim Kelly, described as life-changing. Cahirlock of Donegal County Council, Martin Harley, made the presentation of an unnamed but substantial sum on behalf of Mr. Kelly, who was last week given the Freedom of Donegal. Young adults from the Training and Progression Programme sang Perfect by Ed Sheeran to welcome Councillor Harley to the facility. I'm delighted that Tim Kelly made the donation, and I'm over the moon for the very special place with all the fantastic singers, said Councillor Harley there. What a wonderful donation. Okay, well, it's been flagged long enough and it's come to pass. Ukrainian refugees coming here will get much less money and much less access to accommodation, I suppose you could say. Fears of a breakdown in public support for Ireland's response to the Ukrainian refugee crisis prompted ministers to slash social welfare and limit accommodation for new arrivals fleeing the war. A confidence briefing of senior ministers warned of a potential significant increase in new arrivals fleeing the war after Christmas and an accommodation shortage that could lead to a surge in refugees being forced to sleep on the streets. Not changing the current policy would create a substantial risk that the state would be unable to offer any accommodation to new Ukrainian refugees. Ministers were also warned it could lead to unplanned and manageable health and safety risks in the City West Reception Centre, as well as on-street homelessness and the downstream impacts of that. So there's an awful lot to unpack here. Obviously, they've reduced the amount of money from €220 to €38.80. Accommodation will be provided for 90 days, and after that, you're on your own. Now, it remains to be seen what will happen. It is not in place yet, so there could be a big influx, because this will not apply once it's introduced. This will not apply to people who are already living here. So I don't know if I were here, say for instance I was here, and my family remained in Ukraine or in another part of Europe, theoretically I might say, right, we need to get you over here. Not for any malicious reasons, but because life might be better here. We need to get you over here as soon as possible. So there may well be a rush between now and whenever this is introduced. But let's call it as it is. I mean, people are discussing, what will Ukrainian families do or Ukrainian individuals do after 90 days under the new regime. Well, the whole idea of it is that they don't come here in the first place. And there's no point trying to dress it up as anything else. It is, for the most part, is it not, a deterrent? But it remains to be seen. That being said, it's very important to point out, and I'm sure it has been pointed out, that these rules will apply only to new arrivals and not people who are currently here. The money will still continue to be paid, close on $2 million a day, to the hosts who host them. Right, okay, the Irish Times this morning. Enoch Burke looks set to remain in Mountjoy Prison for the Christmas period after he again refused to undertake to comply with a High Court order to stay away from Wilson's Hospital School. And that is what this comes down to. If he goes into court today and says, I will not trespass on Wilson's Hospital School, he'll be out of prison within an hour. I mean, obviously, it depends on how far back in that story you want to go, that you could say, well, this is about him refusing to use different pronouns for a student. But the bottom line is the reason he's in prison right now is because he refuses to not just keep turning up at the school. Well, after Justice Mark Sanfey, I beg your pardon, asked him several times at a hearing yesterday if he would comply with the order, Mr. Burke said compliance with it would equate to giving up his religious beliefs and would be an endorsement of transgenderism. Now, I think even his Grady supporters, however many of them there are, I don't know, might forgive him at this point for saying, right, I won't go to the school, and still believe that he has his religious beliefs intact. But I mean, obviously others might have a different point of view. The judge directed Mr. Burke and members of his family to leave the courtroom for interrupting the court during a fraught and at times heated High Court sitting. And the Burke family were taking issue with the fact that if this is the same case, and I believe it is, they're taking issue with the fact that the judge had announced that this would be a remote hearing, so all parties would appear remotely, but those opposing Burke, which would be the defence, I suppose, turned up while he was via video link, and they took issue with that. Well, whose fault is it for overcrowding in our hospitals? Letterkenny University Hospital on Monday, 57 people on trolleys. Yesterday it was 47. Sligo, 54 in trolleys, 45 on Monday, 45 yesterday. Well, the Minister for Health says that it is the hospital's fault because they're not discharging patients at the weekend for overcrowding. Now, I ran through some of these figures as it relates to the hospital, and it can really be quite random because if you go back over the last 8 Fridays, there's 2 Fridays where there's 40, 50 people waiting for a bed. That's ahead of the weekend. So I'm not sure how discharging is going to address issues towards the end of the week over the weekend discharging. But anyway, be that as it may, Stephen Donnelly has blamed doctors and nurses for failing to deal with the overcrowding within hospitals. The health minister accused some hospitals of leaving patients on beds for too long and said this partly explained why 747 patients were left waiting on trolleys on Monday morning. Now, many of you might agree with that. Perhaps some of you had... Perhaps some of you were yourself or had family members who were in hospital Friday, Saturday, Sunday and were ready to go home, but you couldn't get a discharge letter. So I'm not saying the minister's wrong. And maybe his words were more nuanced than being presented in the paper. Well, walking into Cabot yesterday morning, he said some hospitals are failing to do what needs to be done. There is quite a wide variance. So have you a view on that? 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. It appears the price of power is coming down. I was contacted by a few people yesterday who got their bills through. They were sort of pay as you go. They were not pay as you go, sorry, they were bill pay. And the €150 credit wasn't on their bill. Now, I'm not really quite sure why that might be. I suspect that the billing period is before the discount being applied. That would be my only suggestion. But if any of you out there have any insight into that, please let me know, because some people received bills this week and the €150 credit wasn't on it yet. I know many pay-as-you-go have already received that credit. But anyway, the bills are coming down apparently. Finance Minister Michael McGrath in the Star today has welcomed an energy provider's decision to drop its prices in the new year and said that other companies will have little option but to respond. SSE Electricity announced that from February 1st, 2024, it is decreasing its standard unit rate by 12.8% for electricity and by 11.5% for gas. Speaking to reporters in Dublin, Mr McGrath said that the budgetary inflation forecast for this year is still 5% and 3% for next year, but that there was a lot of volatility in wholesale energy prices. But anyway, if you are with SSE Electricity, and others may well follow, from the start of February next year, the cost of electricity will reduce by 12.8%, which is not insignificant, it has to be said. Let us see what's in the Mirror today. Finance Minister Michael McGrath, he's quoted on a different story here. He said, cash is here to stay. A lot of people believe the plans are afoot to get rid of cash. I think a lot of it is being driven by people moving away from cash voluntarily. People like myself, not for any good reason, it's just pure convenience, but also a lot of businesses just are saying, right, we prefer to do over the card. I don't necessarily think government policy is driving it, but anyway. He says cash is here to stay as he launched a public consultation looking for people's views on a national payment strategy. He added he was finalising a bill that would enshrine people's access to cash and define an appropriate level of cash needed in communities. That was flagged earlier in the year and seems to be coming to pass now. And finally, an offer of 2.9 billion in financial, this is 2.5 billion euro financial package from the UK government to support the return of the Stormont executive has been labelled as a short-term sugar rush. Well, give me some of that sugar. Alliance Party Deputy Leader Stephen Ferry said the deal will not solve the financial issues. He said, we will get a short-term sugar rush in terms of resources, but we will be back in the same situation within 18 months to 2 years. Well, why not give the people of Northern Ireland 18 months to 2 years then of a sugar rush, for crying out loud, because there's an awful lot not going on that should be going on. Right, okay, that's the papers. €2,000 is going to be given away on the show in the third hour of the programme. as part of our car draw. Get your tickets now if you want to be in that draw. There's £1,000 a day right up until Friday week. If a call's not answered, you have to answer your phone within 5 or 6 rings. If the call's not answered, it rolls over. That's why we're where we're at today. So it's £2,000 today. Looking forward to making someone's day. My God, it would make my month, let alone day. Right, okay. Listen, we'll be back with our first guests on the show after we take a quick break. Everything's been moved around here, and it was I that moved it around, so I can't find the button I have to press. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, back after these.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
Fill your stocking this Christmas from all the great gift ideas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show. See mcgees.ie or like McGee's on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Please support the St Vincent de Paul annual appeal. Donate today at svp.ie or call 0818 176 176. Thank you.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour with their award-winning live show. See The Three Amigos live. Conry Hotel Letterkenny, Tuesday, January 23rd. Tickets, priced €35, are now on sale at the hotel reception and Ticketmaster.ie, where extra charges may apply.
Happy Christmas from The Three Amigos.
It's time to transform your smile with the help of Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Their expert team offer orthodontics, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding all in-house. Start your journey by calling 074 97 40404 or easily book your appointment online at a time that suits you through their user-friendly patient portal. Available anytime, anywhere at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Gift vouchers available.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
22 minutes past 9. We're joined on the programme now by GP Dr. Moira Finn. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you keeping?
Grand. I'm not working today. I'm just chatting to you, so that's a good day.
Okay. Right. I think it's the first part of that's probably more favourable than the second. Moira, so. Before we get into it, I suppose, because I'm just thinking of maybe people who've, got younger children or just brought a baby home. And it's important, I suppose, that we get this information out. But I want to inform people, but not startle them or make them overly worried, unless maybe you think that's not appropriate, you know what I mean? So put it into context in terms of, the likelihood of catching RSV, and if it is caught, how often it becomes incredibly serious, if you know what I mean. So we have a context moving forward with the advice, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And awareness is key, and it's a really fine balance between awareness and alarm. So, and there has been a campaign over the last couple of years increasing awareness, and I think that's done a lot of good work. So RSV, people may not have even heard the name 2 or 3 years ago, but what it stands for is respiratory syncytial virus. It's a seasonal virus. It's very, very common. And of the viruses that hit the Northern Hemisphere every winter, flu and RSV are probably the most common, and it's the most common cause of respiratory illness in children. And it's estimated that 90% of kids get exposed before the age of 2. So that just shows you how common it is. a small percentage of those need to be looked after in community setting, in kind of primary care, and then an even smaller percentage need to be seen in a hospital setting. But when we have a surge like we have done in the last couple of weeks, we do see a lot of sick babies coming into primary care, and unfortunately maybe about 10% of them will end up in a hospital setting. And if they're very young, if they're premature, other underlying conditions, or under the age of 6 months, they are at risk of developing quite serious respiratory issues. So it's the very smallies that we really worry about most. But all children and adults are actually likely to be exposed to RSV. But what happens as you get older and bigger and actually able to kind of control your symptoms a little better, it tends to be a less serious illness.
And it can be not frustrating, it can be difficult to deal with, and you can correct me, Doctor, of course, when I'm wrong, but a lot of people, and I've been that soldier as well, the baby seems off form. You've heard conversations like this, and you go to the GP. There's not an awful lot the GP can do except send you away and say, look, keep an eye on him or her, and if you spot this or that over the next 2 or 3 days, then come back to us. And people sort of leave not reassured, but sort of, you know what I mean? But what can you do?
Actually, and you're absolutely right. And it's incredibly frustrating for us as well, because, we all upper respiratory tract infections, no matter what the cause, start in the same way. They start as a snuffle, a bit of a temperature, maybe a little bit of a cough, decreased feeding. And it's very hard to determine who is going to be the one who'd actually get sick. We do worry more about the younger and the ones that I've just said, the more kind of the ones that may have had a little bit of respiratory issues or premature. But what we do, and what's really important, is this is why awareness is key and information is key. You bring your child in if you are concerned. You're never wasting somebody's time if you're concerned about a small child, no matter how busy the services are. That's really important. And, as GPs, we do, and we're stretched, and this time of year is a really horrible time of year for us, but small babies are our priority. So you're never wasting anybody's time. If you're concerned, bring them in. And what we often do is we check and we make sure there's nothing worse going on and there's nothing active going on. Or sometimes a child comes in and they're already suffering complications of RSV, which could be when it goes into the lungs, so the lower part of the respiratory system. And then we might say your child has bronchiolitis and give advice about how to deal with that, or pneumonia, in which case we'd be referring into the hospital. So what we do is assess how well the child is managing and give advice about the danger signs, the red flags is what we'd call them, of what to look for to see if there's a deterioration. Because the majority of babies improve rather than to deteriorate. And information is key. Antibiotics are not the answer to this and almost everything that happens in the winter. But we've been led into this or the population's been led into this kind of notion that if I go out with a prescription, I've got something. Therefore, something I can do.
It just makes you feel better. As I say, and I know I can put myself, I know that it's not, the antibiotics don't necessarily deal with it, but you walk out and it's like, we'll keep an eye for the next couple of days. But listen, that's where we're at.
Also, sorry to put across you, but also know as a parent, putting an antibiotic into a child is a nightmare.
Yep.
And you've got so much trouble doing that, and then they have diarrhea or they vomit it up and stuff. So you may feel happier that you have a solution, but it's not the solution, and it actually makes the situation worse. So again, this is why the information and the education is key.
And we want obviously those antibiotics, when they are actually needed, to have their maximum effect as well, I'm sure. So before we get to what to look out for, some people might say, well, this is just a fad. You're just stuck for something to talk about, because I never heard about this before, right? So in 2022, we started talking about RSV because of obviously the amount of people that were getting it, the amount of hospitalizations, the amount of particularly young people that were getting very ill. So it's always been there, but why did it come more into the mainstream conversation and more of a broader understanding amongst the population in 2022? Is it off the back of the social distancing through COVID?
I feel it is. I think it's actually, if there was one positive from COVID, is the understanding from the general population that a huge amount of illness is caused by viruses, untreatable viruses. So, maybe we would have said before, and you might have heard this before, and most parents would have, it's a virus. We can't do much about it, go home. Now we give it a name. That's all. That's the only difference. It's most likely RSV. Now it could also be COVID, but we'll check for that. It could also be a rhinovirus, so there are viruses, but we're giving it a name. And giving it a name doesn't make it more dangerous or more prevalent. It just kind of makes people more aware of it. And that kind of understanding now that viruses have to be dealt with in a different way to bacterial infections. Probably that has raised in our consciousness since the COVID pandemic. If there's a couple of positives around the COVID thing, very few, but the other very big positive is the fact that people understand that all those things, social distancing, masks, hand washing, sanitizing, staying away if you're sick, they matter. And RSV, like all the other viruses, really slumped during the COVID pandemic because people were doing all these things. Now, nobody wants to get back to that, but it is really important to remember. So they were the reasons why these viruses didn't circulate then.
Yeah.
And it would also be the way to intervene now.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that more in a little moment, because there's a lot of headlines about visiting and all that kind of stuff, new babies and things. But I want to get down to what to look out for. Now, are we, Hudson, this happened to us over Christmas, and it becomes really, really clear the difference between, sort of a stuffy nose, a bit agitated, to sort of that, lethargic and unresponsive and stuff. But you're the medical expert, and I want you to talk us through it, because this is a lot about parents trusting themselves, I think, and you're going to empower them with the knowledge now.
I hope so. And it is trusting yourself, but also trusting your instinct about when you think there's something different or something wrong. And always go with your instinct. And that's so important. As medics, we trust parents primarily, and we have to. So, like I said, all viruses of this nature will start as upper respiratory things. So that's the snuffle, like you said, and the little bit off form, maybe not feeding very well, bit of a cough, just snuffly, and you kind of want to clear out the snot and you can't, and it's frustrating. The danger signs are when that respiratory infection goes a little bit lower and your child is struggling to breathe. Now, that isn't always really dramatic, but what will often start with small babies is that they'll flare their nostrils because they're literally trying to get more air into their lungs. They'll also breathe more actively from their belly, and you'll see their ribs sucking in. So you always look at their belly, open the vest and have a look at them and see what's happening with their belly. They may breathe very quickly. They may stop feeding well because it's difficult for them to feed. If they feed unwell, they start becoming slow to feed. They become lethargic because they're dehydrated as well. So they become lethargic. Their colour may go off. They may be, like you said, a little bit hard to wake, hard to rise. They may have a temperature that's hard to manage, but that's not always a very big symptom with RSV. And they're the main thing. So looking at the breathing, if there's an effort in the breathing, then your baby's trying to get oxygen in and it's not working as well as they could. So that's when you intervene. Less than 3 wet nappies in a day is a nice sign to go with. If they've less than 3 wet nappies, they're dehydrated. They need to be checked. Okay. So that's one kind of hard thing to go with. And looking at the belly breathing, looking at the rate of breathing is a really good thing to look for too. And then the lethargy. I suppose those 3 things are things that are kind of information parents can kind of take home with and say, right, that happens. I go and I check. Yes. And don't wait. We don't want anybody up all night looking at their child going, is this dangerous or not? We'd far prefer to see them in advance.
Is this a bit of a silly suggestion to actually now, if you're listening to this and you have a newborn or a young child, is actually to have a look at how they breathe normally, in inverted commas? Because I know myself, right, that as soon as you think they're in any way poorly, all of a sudden every, intake of breath almost. Now, I'm kind of an anxiously nervousy person. I'm not terribly normal. But I mean, it's no harm to have a look at it, right? And say, right, that's normal when they're fine, so that they can get a better read then, that if they're looking for changes, they might be a little bit more obvious. They may be very well obvious, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to reassure people so that you can be not scared, but really knowledgeable.
That's actually a really sensible thing to do. And it's actually how we teach young doctors. They have to see normal, well kids to actually understand what's not normal, So absolutely. Now, I don't know whether that goes kind of videoing a normal child. And Jesus, we all know that small babies grunt and make all sorts of noises anyway, at the best of times. But yeah, looking at their bellies, looking at how they breathe when they're comfortable and sleep, they're actually lovely to sleep in the back. And when a baby's really chilled out, the hands are back. And, actually looking at how they breathe then is actually a really good way of actually knowing what's normal. But you'll see it. And I'm sure there's videos online about what babies look like when they have that kind of belly breathing and grunting. There's really good info online as well. There's a HSE websites, and then there's a Together Against RSV, really good information as well. So, like you said, arm yourself with the information beforehand so you'll know when to kind of be concerned or be calm and know that I'm on top of this.
Now, we're talking about the spread of it, right? Okay. Now, newborns, younger children often spend most of their time in the house. So it's very, not everyone, of course, but it's very likely it'll be brought into the house or it'll be caught with interactions with someone else. And I think, we as visitors need to listen to this advice as much as the parents or guardians of the children. So this is for everyone, because I was talking about this last week. And it can be a little bit awkward as to how you have this convo potentially. So what is your advice about, if there's newborns or younger babies, particularly under 6 months, I think you referenced, in terms of, kissing, holding, sort of close contact with?
Well, it's really tricky, isn't it? Because it goes against all our instincts. Everybody wants to see the newborn. Everybody wants to cuddle the newborn. But listen, this time of year, when it's RSV season, when it's surging, I think it is a very reasonable thing for us to know going visiting small babies, and for parents to be able to say, sorry, just don't kiss the baby, have a look, and when the baby's older, that's it's more appropriate that there's kind of handling. I think it's difficult. I don't think anybody should visit if they have any signs of a cold themselves, no matter how innocent it may be. I think if there's a lot circulating in your own community, it's perfectly reasonable to kind of ask people not to visit. I think hand washing and hand sanitizing is essential, no matter what age and what type, what season, with small babies, because they're very vulnerable to everything, small babies. And then you see, it's like you said, the small babies are generally at home, and that's the ideal. But you will often have older siblings who are coming home and their children, so they're getting it from creche or from school. And again, that's where you kind of, if your older child is unwell, they probably shouldn't be in creche or school. Really difficult thing to say. My children are older. I don't have this problem anymore, but it's so hard to manage that. How do you get to work when your child just has a snuffle and you need to keep them home? And the other difficulty with that is you often ask elderly parents maybe to look after them in that situation, and they can be vulnerable to RSV if they have any underlying chest conditions themselves. So it's a really tricky thing to manage. But I think if we know, then those conversations aren't awkward, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, thank you. Great advice. Just a couple of questions coming in, and I saw a few people posting about this as well. Is there anything particularly going around amongst adults, persistent chesty infections? Because as I say, we've a couple of people texting in, and I've seen other people complaining of this hard to shift.
Yeah, it's funny. You're in Donegal, I'm in Clare. It's the same thing down here, It's probably RSV, but this is the winter season is when the viruses circulate, and they circulate from around October until February. That's why GPs generally and doctors, we're not so keen on Christmas. It's our busiest time of year. So there is a virus like that circulating all over the country. It's almost certainly viral. You'll have people who'd say to me, I've been on 2 antibiotics and it's still not gone. That's because the antibiotics didn't make any difference. A cough can take minimum of 2 weeks to clear, maybe longer. Because if you think about it, a cough is your body's response to phlegm and inflammation, and it's trying to clear it. So it actually has a function. So don't be always afraid of a cough. A new cough or coughing blood or respiratory distress or something, that's different. But a cough, because your body's trying to clear the infection, isn't always a dangerous thing. You might be miserable, but it's that time of year. Mind yourself.
I'm miserable at the best of times. Okay. Listen,
I'm sure you're not.
No, I'm not, of course. Dr. Moira Finn, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thanks so much indeed. Thanks for your time today. All right, take care of yourself. She's a GP there. Any comment on that? 086 60 25,000. Hopefully things like that are helpful for you and reassuring. That's what we want to do here on the programme. Okay, back with our next guest after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Think outside the box with your photos this Christmas for canvas prints, Instablocks, mugs and photo books at mcgee's.ie. McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
This Christmas, let TFI Local Link help you get into the festive spirit and bring you where you need to go. Use our regular rural and door-to-door services to connect with friends and family throughout the Christmas season, with many routes offering evening and weekend services too. For a full list of service arrangements, visit transportforireland.ie. TFI Local Link, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
Hi, Tommy Bow here. Get in store to check out my new 15 Kings clothing collection, available in premium gents outfitters nationwide and at 15kings.com.
There's something about this time of year that makes you want to be near all the things that remind you of your favourite Christmas. When you get that warm and fuzzy feeling, you want to be near the people you love and the things you love. So where better to get that Christmas feeling than Letterkenny Shopping Centre. There's free parking, extended opening hours and great gifts for everyone on your list. Add in a visit to Santa, you'll have Christmas all wrapped up. Letterkenny Shopping Centre. Christmas just around the corner.
Everyone loves going to the cinema. That's why an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher is the perfect Christmas present. They aren't just for kids, but all the family. Even little Miss Hard to Buy For. We all have one of them. And when you buy an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher, you now get 10% extra free. Available on our Bundoran and Lefferts Strabane cinemas or at eclipsecinemas.com. Vouchers don't expire and can even be used for dine-in screen options and VIP cinema experiences.
Make their Christmas electric with gifts from Currys. Get the Nintendo Switch OLED with Mario Kart 8 and 3-month online membership for only €349. Or save €50 on the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 with Bluetooth connection, now only $179. Shop in store or online at currys.ie.
Hot Country TV Awards concert in association with Galway Irish Crystal, 26th of March, Mount Erigal Hotel, starring Nathan Carter, Mike Denver, Claudia Buckley, Derek Ryan, The Tumbling Paddies, Robert Mazzell, Jimmy Buckley, Patrick Feeney, David James, Olivia Douglas, Michael English, Declan Nerney, Jerry Guthrie and many, many more. Tickets €30 available from Hotel Reception, Ticketmaster and hotcountrytv.com.
Now, nearly 200 nations meeting in Dubai approved a first call for the world to transition away from fossil fuels, the top culprit of climate change behind a planetary crisis. After 13 days of talks and another sleepless night in a country built on oil wealth, the Emirati leadership of the COP28 summit banged a gavel to signal the world had reached consensus. Now, that's an interesting bit of terminology there. Caroline O'Doherty is the environmental correspondent with the Irish Times. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon, the Irish Independent, and joins us from Dubai. I almost had a sleepless night myself. Caroline, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Right, so how is this being perceived over there? I mean, I know there is some concern coming out from the island nations who potentially are worst affected by the climate crisis. Some saying they were all on board, others saying the gavel was going down when they weren't there. What is the read on the ground as to how significant or otherwise this deal actually is?
Look, it is quite divided. It is significant for, I think that's undoubted. In 30 years of climate negotiations, we haven't had an agreement that says we have to move away from fossil fuels, which sounds utterly bonkers when you think of it. The closest they've ever come is 2 years ago, and they said we have to phase down coal because it's the dirtiest of fossil fuels. So even saying that countries are being called upon to transition away from fossil fuels in the energy system, as in burning coal, oil and gas, with acceleration in this critical decade, as in right now until the end of 2030, and with the plan to get to net zero by 2050, keeping in the science in mind. So it kind of has all the phrases that kind of hit the spot, if you like, in a lot of ways. There is concern, though, however. It's not the exact wording that most of the countries going into the talks looked for. They wanted phase out of fossil fuels. Now, linguistically, is there much difference between transitioning away and phasing out? Phase out, I suppose, sounds punchier. There probably isn't much of a difference. The concern is that there isn't.
Caroline, what that reads to me like is that these countries will continue to make their trillions in producing it unfettered, and we'll end up being discouraged from using it through expenditure.
Yeah, look, there are all sorts of concerns around this. There's a concern that the countries are being called upon to do it rather than absolutely required to do it. There's concerns that they've embedded in the text, the acceleration of low carbon technologies, and that gets very complicated, but particularly carbon capture and storage. And that is the absolute joy of the fossil fuel industry, because they've been saying, we can keep producing oil and gas and coal, but we'll capture the emissions from that with this great technology, which is in use in very small ways in certain, maybe individual industrial plants. It's not been developed for massive scale use. The cost, the timelines, all on that. It's really considered a kind of a fantasy solution, but now it's in the text. There's other concerns too about recognising the need for transitional fuels, and that's a discussion that's gone on in Ireland when we've had debates over whether we should have an LNG terminal, and the excuse is always given is, look, we don't have enough renewables here, so until we do, we're going to need a transitional fuel, and the cleanest one, it's better than oil, it's better than coal, is gas, and we can get it in the form of liquefied natural gas. So that's in there too, and those are the kind of things that are really worrying the climate activists, the NGOs, and some of the scientists. There's been some very fast reaction this morning from scientists, and some of them are saying no, it's very significant, and some of them are saying from no, they wanted it to be stronger. It's tied in with other issues. It's tied into with there's been some reform of financial systems. Now, this is where it gets really confusing. Science systems are confusing, finance is worse. But there is a point that you cannot just tell countries to get rid of fossil fuels if they don't have the means to build up renewables. We have in Ireland, we have a whole system going on. We have investors, we have companies, we have link-ups with we have ports in one place going to supply this, that, and the other. We have a whole scheme underway to get wind going in Ireland big time, and solar also. Some countries don't have that. They're really, not even on the starting block, and particularly poorer countries. Investors don't want to invest in them. They'll invest in coal and oil till the cows come home because they're familiar with it. They know how it works. They know there's a market for it, because if they keep putting it out there, it'll keep being used. It's very hard to get them to invest in
that being
renewables.
said, though, is there not a big push on the moment at the moment for us actually to have a pathway for offshore, onshore, whatever it might be, wave energy? Because there is money washing around out there. There are people mad to invest in this renewables, but we're so far behind the curve. They're looking at what can they put the money into now or next year, not in 4, 5 or 6 years. So, that's where the sort of state has a responsibility to do its bit, internally, rather than maybe banging a drum in Dubai.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do know that there are a lot of companies who want to invest. The problem is, and these are things that I wasn't aware of until the past 2 weeks, interest rates. When you're borrowing millions and billions accounts, interest rates are much higher, apparently, for borrowing to invest in renewables, because the banks will say, well, they've only been around, wind farms have only been around 10, 15, 20 years. They're getting bigger. We don't know exactly what's going to happen to them. Whereas, for 150 years, they've reliably known how coal mines and oil fields work. So they're charging more for it. So there is a need. Investors might be willing to invest in these renewables, but they want to get a return on the money, return for their investment. Because and you can't. We're not going to go back to the stage where the Irish state piles money into big energy infrastructure. These things are privatised. That's kind of how it is, and unfortunately, apparently, we have to make it attractive to them. And Ireland is quite attractive. Uganda was upset about some of the text, for example, because they said, we're not going to get people in, to do large-scale solar or large-scale renewables, so please don't take our fossil fuels away. We often think of Saudi maybe, or the richer countries as being the ones who block any move against fossil fuels, but there's actually quite a number of poorer countries who are really kind of panic-stricken when they think that the only energy source they have and the only source of external investment they have, could be taken away from them. So from that point of view, fossil fuel phase-out, good punchy slogan, would have been lovely to see it in there, I think, from the perspective of most campaigners, but it's complicated.
It is
200 odd, just under
you've
200 countries.
You've 8 hours to figure it out before you get home. Okay. Listen, thanks very much for your time, Caroline. Safe journey back.
You're welcome.
All right, take care. Caroline O'Doherty there, environment correspondent with the Irish Independent.
Chanel, Flower Bomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
The winner takes all at the Cope Dunlow's Christmas Advent Countdown. Spend over €50 in any of the Cope stores from now until December 23rd for your chance to win the entire contents of the Advent calendar, worth over €3,000. T's and C's apply. See in store for details and for daily Advent reveals. See the Cope Dunlow on Facebook.
The season of giving is here. Why not treat yourself or someone special to a used car at iMotors?
With the largest range of used cars in the Northwest, over 25 brands to choose from, and up to 12 months warranty on all our vehicles.
Visit our showroom today in Drumkeen or Malin and test drive any car.
Open 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Or visit imotors.ie.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €8.5 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Put your money where your heart is this Christmas with a Strabane gift card. Purchasing a Strabane gift card is the perfect way to support local businesses and can be used in over 70 businesses, making it the perfect gift this Christmas. So, love local today. Buy the Strabane gift card at O'Neill Sportswear, the Alley Theatre, or online at lovestrabane.com.
Merry Yuletide, one and all. At TK Maxx, you can spoil all your loved ones with big brand gifts that are always up to 60% less than the RRP.
I'm going to need a bigger basket.
Fabulous gifts literally everyone will love. From kids' toys, designer jewellery to luxury candles. Big gifts, small prices. In store this Christmas at TK Maxx.
'Tis the season to be jolly, and Letterkenny Retail Park is spreading the joy. Join us on the 16th and 17th of December between 12 noon and 4 p.m. for some festive fun. Discover mischievous elves spreading holiday cheer on our Christmas treasure hunt, filled with amazing prizes. Keep the celebrations going with our extended opening hours, so you can shop till you drop. Don't miss out on the fun. Mark your calendars and we'll see you at Letterkenny Retail Park.
And now the Highland Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. Widespread Christmas shopping this December in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Okay, so cloudy with a few showers this morning, but they will quickly die out with some rather clear and bright spells developing later. Northerly winds will ease too, with highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees. Cloud will build from the west later this afternoon, with outbreaks of rain developing into the evening. Now becoming quite cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Light southerly winds will change westerly overnight, with lowest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees. Okay. As you would have heard from the stings coming in, our programme is brought to you this week in association with our friends at McGee's Chemist, and each day we've got a great prize for you. And as you'd expect, then we have a bumper prize for you on Friday. I'll give you the details of that now, because I'm inviting you to text in. What do you have to text in? Just your name, where you're from. We have your number and your number. Text that in. Your name, where you're from, and your number. And one of you, or maybe a few of you, we'll see how it goes, will be selected to come on air and answer a question, which is effectively, what is a Christmas song that we're playing? It's about 10 seconds long. It's played backwards. If need be, I can try and help you out. I don't know. See how generous I feel a little later on. But today we have a 50 milliliter Chanel Coco Mademoiselle EDP spray for the ladies, though anyone can use it. It's up to you out there, whatever you want to do with it. So that's the prize today. It's a 50 milliliter Chanel Coco Mademoiselle EDP spray, ladies. So we'll invite you to come on and answer a question, and that question being is, what is the Christmas song? Most of them are pretty recognisable, okay? And what do you have to do to enter? Nothing really, other than text or WhatsApp 08660 25000. Give us your name, where you're from, and your number. And then whoever is successful today goes into the qualifiers draw on Friday. And they may well win a hamper worth over €500, courtesy of McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny and McGee's.ie. And it contains a Clarence Christmas hamper, a blank canvas 12-piece gold makeup brush set. Now, don't go hanging on that on your wall. We've got one to hang on the wall, but you don't want to be hanging your blank your blank canvas on the wall. We have a large blank canvas purple 3-piece gift set, a Be Perfect muted palette, a Jimmy Shoe Ladies Fragrance. Now, you can hang this on your wall. It's a 20 by 16 gallery wrapped canvas, so you can have your favourite photos wrapped in canvas and ready to hang on the wall. We've got a couple of these and they are lovely. So the 5 daily qualifiers will be in the draw on Friday. And today's qualifier wins 50 millilitres of Chanel Coco Mademoiselle EDP spray. So get in touch with us right now. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts. And all it is your name, where you're from, your number. That's all you have to do. And also, just a reminder, and I don't want to be standing here like I'm I'm trying to flog everything, but it's to try and give you opportunities to win. That's why I'm mentioning it. Because before the end of this show, in the last hour, one of you is going to win $2,000, fingers crossed. We're going to be calling someone as part of our big Christmas car draw giveaway. We've £1,000 a day over 10 days, and we didn't get an answer yesterday, so it's rolled into today. So if you've bought a car ticket, please, if you can, have your phone beside you. We'll give you a ring and hopefully you'll answer. And all you have to do then is decide what to spend your €1,000 on. It's not too late to get tickets to be in today's draw as well. There's still $9,000 up for grabs plus the car, which is worth over 30. It's down in the Letterkenny Shopping Centre. I saw it yesterday. It's a beauty. So you can go onto our website, highlandradio.com. Quick and simple for you to buy your tickets there. You can give us a call on 07491 25,000. We'll get it processed for you. Or if you're in and around Letterkenny and you don't do card, you can call in and pay with good old cash at Highland Radio Mountain Top. That's where we are here. And it's quite simple. Literally, as people are buying tickets, the numbers are going into the draw drum, the trombola, which is here. So that's as simple as it is. But your name can't be in there unless you buy your ticket. Right. People are against COVID vaccines. I got my booster the other day. I'm only in my 50s, but I feel better with it. Protected. Okay, that's good for you. And my attitude has always been that it's up to you, and so I'm glad that you feel protected and happy with it. What's your opinion on nude art? Should it be displayed? Is it okay to show in schools? France's education minister said he'll never accept school pupils refusing to look at art amid a row over a teacher showing her pupils a painting of nude women. Now, I think it depends on the painting. I mean, we've all seen the statues and they're all over the place, where you have your boys with the boys, out, they're nude. And there's always been art showing nudity. Then when you start talking about it being in schools, obviously then there has to be a little bit of context. What are we talking about here? But anyway, the question is of you out there today. Have you a view on nude art being shown to students? Are you for or are you against? Someone I know well had their spring broke on the ramps in Letterkenny. The council have said off the record that a number of cars have been damaged. Can you ask your listeners, have they had these problems? These ramps are popping up all over the place. I've come across 4 new locations with these ramps in them. Have you hit one? Did you damage your car? Do you think there's enough signage? Some of the signage can be really quite wee, and if you know at night when it's raining, it's hard to see those white arrows on them. But anyway, do you have a view on these speed ramps that are popping up, not just around Letterkenny? There's one popped up in Downings there not so long ago as well. Let us know what you think. 086 60 25,000. Righty-o, first hour in the bag. Loads to come on the show. But let's take a break for the news and obituary notices.
Hugo Boss, Victor and Rolf, Dior, Marc Jacobs and Carolina Herrera. Where else but at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, where you'll find the biggest names in perfume and aftershave this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Come along to the ESIS Centre on the Donegal Derry border. We are providing something special and something different. Right next door is our Celtic prayer garden. Walk around and enjoy the peace. The children love it. Then come over to the ESIS Centre and try some of our delicious food. We have an organic farm and plenty of events planned on the run-up to Christmas. The ESIS Centre will really put the heart in your Christmas.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. Valcas Energy Wood Pellets 10 kg. Buy 10 bags, get 1 free. Kiln-dried softwood logs. Buy 2 bags for €14. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie. Joe Gallagher Entertainment present the High Kings, Ireland's favourite folk group, bringing their Road Not Taken tour to the Mount Erical Hotel, Letterkenny, December 27th, Struhl Arts Centre, Omagh, 3rd of January, and Derry, 4th and 5th of January. Tickets on sale from the venue box offices and ticketmaster.ie.
Please support the St Vincent de Paul annual appeal. Donate today at svp.ie or call 0818 176 176. Thank you.
Attention farmers, Alt Nurseries Althuber Castlefin are Department of Agriculture approved and can supply plant passports for your acre scheme. Thorn hedging, tree whips, shelters, hedging, plastic and native Irish apple trees are all available. Also stocking a large range of bare root, potted hedging trees, shrubs and much more. For the best quality at the keenest prices, call Gail at Alt Nurseries Castlefin on 086 306 7346.
Smokes and Grills in Letterkenny is now open for breakfast from 10. Whatever you're having for breakfast, have it cooked to order and served up with a hot cup of tea or coffee. A full takeaway menu is also now available. Order online at smokesandgrills.ie or call 9113333. Smokes and Grills now open from 10 every Wednesday to Sunday at Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny.
Join Barney's Tractor Run this Sunday 17th, starting at McGettigan's Travel in Dromore, Letterkenny. Registration opens at 12 noon and the run kicks off at 2 p.m. sharp, followed by refreshments, music, raffles and more at the Lennon Lodge, Romelton. Entry is €20 per tractor with proceeds to Barney Gibbons Rehabilitation Fund. This ad is sponsored by the Northwest Truck Fest.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. There's a warning that lives are at risk in Donegal after it emerged 8 ambulances were backed up outside Letterkenny University Hospital yesterday. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin is to raise the matter with the Taoiseach in the Dáil today, along with the ongoing crisis at the hospital's emergency department. He says the government must intervene.
Lives are at risk across Donegal when you have 8 ambulances backed up, and indeed there was more over the last week. So this is a repeated situation that we have. It's a profound crisis. Minister Stephen Donnelly was forced to come to Donegal recently to engage with the GPs, with the consultants, and we need action. You know, we need action. We need an understanding of the neglect of the hospital, of the underfunding, and we need an intervention to stop this from happening.
A final deal has been approved at the COP28 Climate Change Summit in Dubai. It calls for the world to wean itself off planet-warming fossil fuels, but stops short of calling for them to be phased out. The text of the deal has been criticised by some activists who say it simply does not go far enough to cut emissions. The Irish government's been accused of turning a blind eye to the mishandling of the case of Dennis Donaldson. Mr Donaldson's family have issued a statement following the 26th adjournment of the inquest into his death. The 55-year-old was shot dead in Glenties in April 2006. He'd been hiding out there after being exposed as an informer. With more, here's Sean O'Regan.
The Donaldson family say their ordeal involves state agencies north and south in uncovering the facts about a criminal conspiracy which resulted in the murder of Dennis Donaldson. The police ombudsman previously found a corporate failing under Article 2 of the ECHR by state agencies in the north in how they treated Mr Donaldson and his family. The family believes state agencies in the south appear to be acting with the same disregard for their rights, most recently with the 26th adjournment of the inquest last Friday. In the statement issued through their solicitor, the family say the Irish state and others stand in the dock of public hypocrisy if they continue to criticise the UK government's approach to legacy while turning a blind eye to the mishandling of the case of Dennis Donaldson and the injustices they're facing. The family says they will not accept this and are urging others in the authority to help them.
A Donegal deputy is pressing the government for a cross-sectoral response to the mortgageability of remediated homes under the Enhanced Defective Concrete Block Redress Scheme. Deputy Thomas Pringle asked the Dáil if a committee will be established as sought by the Banking and Payments Federation, as they cannot give mortgage assurances to homeowners with defective homes alone. Deputy Pringle also called on the government to introduce legislation to take into account the latest scientific research which proves that foundations are affected.
New research commissioned by the Department of Housing now shows that pyrrhotite oxidation and internal sulphate attack are the main causes of the degradation, which also affect the foundations currently not covered in the legislation. And will you commit to bringing forward legislation to cover them? Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy. It wouldn't be right to make commitments on the floor of the Dáil, but I'll certainly speak to the Minister for Housing about the matter and ask him to come back to Deputy Pringle directly.
Micheál Martin is on his way to London today for a meeting with the UK's Foreign Secretary David Cameron. He and the former British Prime Minister are due to speak about power sharing at Stormont, as well as the wars in Palestine and Ukraine. The Taoiseach says it's vital that the two countries continue to strengthen the relationship between their governments. And Donegal's been hit by another earthquake. On Sunday last, a 1.3 magnitude earthquake occurred on the Fannet Peninsula. With the details, here's Michaela Clark.
According to the Irish National Seismic Network, the 1.3 magnitude earthquake occurred at 6:48 a.m. on Sunday at a depth of approximately 5 kilometres. The epicentre of the earthquake is said to have been approximately 5 kilometres east of Kerry-Keel. INSN, operated by DIAS, has received several reports that the earthquake was experienced by members of the public near Kerry-Keel. People have reported that they heard a loud thunder-like noise. INSN says the Fannet Peninsula experiences regular seismic activity, with the most recent earthquake occurring near Kerry-Keel in August 2017 at a magnitude of 1.4. The largest earthquake, meanwhile, on the Fannet Peninsula with a 2.4 magnitude was recorded in January 2012.
Weather forecast: any lingering showers will quickly die out, with some rather clear and bright spells developing. Northern winds will ease in highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees Celsius this afternoon. However, cloud will build again from the west this afternoon, with outbreaks of rain developing into the evening. It'll become quite cloudy as the evening goes on, with outbreaks of rain and drizzle in light southerly winds, changing westerly overnight in lowest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. Any lingering rain will quickly clear tomorrow morning, leaving a cloudy but mostly dry day with westerly breezes freshening. It'll stay rather cloudy with limited sunny spells. Most areas will stay dry tomorrow afternoon in top temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. You can, of course, keep up to date with all of the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, December the 13th. The death has taken place of Paddy McGrath, Scribbly Letterkenny, formerly Strabane. Paddy's remains will be reposing at his late residence from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock today, and tomorrow from 2 o'clock until 10 o'clock, with rosary both nights at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there on Friday afternoon at 12:30, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for 1 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in New Lex Cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Katie McConalogue, née Long, 558 Ardmacool, Stranolar. Katie's remains will be reposing at her late residence this evening from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and tomorrow from 11 o'clock until 10 o'clock, with rosary both nights at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there on Friday morning at 10:30, going to the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranolar, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in the Old Cemetery, Stranolar. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to Brindley Manor Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Patrick Paddy Kelly, Garrison Lane, Dromore Crossroads, Killygordon. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving from his late residence tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on the parish YouTube channel. Family time from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. And the death has taken place of Michael Mickey Barrett, Tara Court, Letterkenny, and formerly of Turroddy, Ramelton, County Donegal. House private, please. Cremation today at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of Jim McGlynn, funeral directors, or any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Betty Morgan talks about her son.
Eamon was one of life's givers.
when he had a sudden brain hemorrhage and sadly died. His organ donation helped 2 people transform their lives. It's consoled us so often. Eamon was a giver in life, and to now he's a giver of life.
Organ donors save lives. Make today the day you decide to be an organ donor and let your family know your wishes. For more, visit hse.ie/organ donation. From the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
All right, you're very welcome back to the programme. Good morning if you've just joined us. How are you all keeping out there this Wednesday morning? Some of your texts and calls coming in. Hi, Greg. My daughter was very ill with RSV when she was 6 weeks old back in 2014. She was in hospital for 10 days and developed pneumonia. It was a very worrisome time for us, but the one-on-one care she received in Letterkenny University Hospital was second to none. And luckily, we now have a very happy and healthy 9-year-old. I love it. Thank you for that. I know it must have been the most anxious and worrying time for you, but it's lovely that you can now look at her happy and healthy at 9. Greg, as an adult, I'm in my 4th week of having a bad chesty cough, some wheezing, also for a few weeks, though this has eased a bit. The GP prescribed steroids and antibiotics 2 weeks ago for 5 days. No real improvement. Getting very little phlegm up every day, exhausted coughing. Now I've got a slight rash on both arms. Has the doctor any suggestions or advice on how much longer this will go on? Should I just take the usual things like drink fluids and ibuprofen if needed? Obviously, I can't give you any advice, and my apologies. This came in after we finished our chat with our doctor. But, I mean, I would go back to the GP, to be honest with you, because it sounds to me like you feel that you should be getting better. And now the appearance of this rash, put your mind at ease and ring the GP and go back if you can. I know for in some areas it might be a struggle to get a spot, but there's no point sitting at home worrying. You're 4 weeks into it now. But as you heard from the GP there, the antibiotics may never work because it might not be viral. I was in the ED recently. A&E is all run up. Ambulance people have to stand with patients. I counted 11 ambulances standing in the corridor, ambulance people standing in the corridor with patients. A lot of older patients are in from nursing homes that are very dehydrated. They have vomiting and diarrhoea. People getting x-rays were told to go to Scally's tomorrow. The nurses are run off their feet. The public could be doing more. People were trying to get through to GPs and the GP sent them up to the ED as they couldn't see them. There were over 200 people, they say, in the ED yesterday, which is a huge turnout. And we've had quite an interesting conversation and got quite an interesting insight into why a GP might send someone to the ED. And then we heard from the health minister on this programme that says something's up because half of the people who are admitted to hospital are discharged the next day. So wherever needs to be changed or whatever needs to be done, you know, there are people in positions of power and authority that perhaps need something to do. Need to do something, sorry. I want to say happy birthday, or happy Christmas, sorry. Roisin McCartney's in Maville. Happy Christmas from her daughter Eileen and Boyd. Happy Christmas, Roisin. Feel free to send in your happy Christmas dedications, your happy birthdays. We love them on this show too, you know. We have a reputation for only discussing serious things all the while, but regular listeners know we touch on the lighter side of life as well, and welcome your good wishes for other listeners on 086 60 25,000 or by calling 07491 25,000. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Our next guest just around the corner.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday the 13th of December. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S8. It's game number 50. The numbers are 64, 14, 81, 2, 4, 9, 72, 54, 15, and finally 74. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Giving the gift of sport is made easier at Brian McCormick Sports. New O'Neill's Donegal home jersey for 2024. Available in player and club fit. Out now, in-store and online. New O'Neill's Rockway Donegal jackets with matching quarter zips and t-shirts. Donegal quarter zips for all kids from only €35. O'Neill's Donegal range for 2024. The perfect Christmas gift for the football family.
Order your new 241 Suzuki with 0% finance from Barry Brown Cars Milford, main Suzuki dealer in Donegal. Order your 241 Suzuki, one of the most reliable and cost-effective brands on the market, with 0% finance on selected models. So get down to Barry Brown Cars Milford, Suzuki Sales Dealer of the Year, and secure your 241 today.
Still not sure what to get your friends and family for Christmas? Michael Henneys are here to help. Our in-store team can support you in finding the perfect gift within your price range. Still undecided? A Michael Henneys gift card is the perfect present for the person who has everything. If you can't make it in store, you can shop our online gift guide section on michaelhenneys.com.
Hi, it's Declan Derny here, bringing our mighty nationwide concert tour with my special guests John Hogan and Owen Mack on Green and Theatre, Letterkenny, Saturday, December 30th.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas delivered to your door, or order online and collect in store. Visit mcgees.ie.
Okay, we are joined on the programme now by Declan Meehan, manager of the Milford and District Resource Centre. Declan, good morning to you. Thanks for coming back on the show.
No problem. Good morning, Greg.
Right. Speaking ahead of an open evening event for new communities in the area, and we will talk about that extensively, of course, but I suppose it's kind of a wee bit of a juxtaposition, is it, with the message coming from government as it relates to new communities, new arrivals here, and events like this. Now, of course, I don't want to in any way dilute the importance of that. But have you been getting any sense from communities, or have you been interacting with anyone in the wake of, or even your own views of the government's decision to greatly reduce the welfare payments to particularly Ukrainian refugees, and also to limit state-provided accommodation to 90 days?
Yeah, I guess, look, it's a very difficult position that the state is in at the minute. It's a position of their own making. The lack of temporary and also medium-term accommodation that has been made available in the state just has not kept up with demand. Now, obviously, it has been unprecedented demand over the past 18 months. But I guess the message that has been sent out by government is we don't want any more people coming here, and they're trying to make it as difficult for people as possible, or as unattractive as possible, particularly for Ukrainians to come, so that they can prioritise accommodation for international protection and asylum seekers. So it's I suppose kind of a bit of a mixed message that's been sent out by government, but very clear in another way, where it's simply being, these policies are being signed off as an active deterrent for any additional Ukrainians coming to the country.
It's interesting, though, because it's really unproven, because, you know, we've had direct provision for an awful long time. We know that the payment for international protection candidates is in and around the €38, and yet there is a steady stream of those individuals seeking international protection coming into Ireland. So do we know that Ukrainian refugees fleeing a war will be deterred by that? Do you know what I mean? Because evidence would suggest that people still are prepared to come here, even if the pay is less, because there's job opportunities if you can eventually get into the workforce and what have you.
Yeah, I suppose you've got qualitative kind of evidence as well, where there's the Ukrainian Action Ireland group, which is kind of an advocacy body on behalf of Ukrainian refugees, has consistently surveyed new arrivals and people who've been here for a long time about what attracts them to Ireland. And just safety is the number one reason for them coming, and not welfare rates. The second reason for it is, linked to the safety, is how far away Ireland is from Russia. The second reason is that it's the only English-speaking country in the European Union. And so a lot of Ukrainians come here for that. So for the proportion of Ukrainians that do speak English, obviously an English-speaking country is going to be more attractive to them. So, I mean, the proof will be in the pudding, and it remains to be seen whether or not this policy is in fact going to have any effect in terms of stemming the numbers coming into the country.
I think it's a real gamble because... go ahead, Declan.
Or if it's a cynical, I suppose, approach by the government, and it's actually not for a Ukrainian audience at all. It's for an Irish audience, which would be my kind of take on it. But
they were given information at information at recent meetings about public opinion that it's well reported that did formulate it. So I don't think you're being cynical. I think it's really quite a fact. And you know, they've created potentially a huge rush between now and whenever this comes into effect. And also, I think people will come here with the knowledge that, well, let's see what you do after 90 days. And I'm not saying they'll do that in any, but I mean, like, are we going to have a situation, because the council has no responsibility to house refugees, whereby we're going to have these stories of, primarily from a Ukrainian perspective, mothers and their children being put out into the street, with no agency responsible for housing them. I mean, I think it's a real gamble by government that could come back to bite them.
Yeah, I think that you could see a huge increase in homelessness figures driven up by that, obviously. And the other thing, I suppose, is that people who are sleeping on the streets are much more vulnerable into human trafficking or into anything like that. They're just much more vulnerable and unsafe in general. It remains to be seen what the effects of it will be, but I think that it's telling that any asylum seeker, refugee, advocacy groups are casting a very cold eye on this policy change. And look, we've seen how, as you said, Greg, how ineffective cutting people's money actually is. We've had direct provision for the past almost 30 years now, how disastrous a policy that is, and also a barrier to integration. What the vast majority of people want to see is not asylum seekers and refugees existing in silos or in separate communities. They want to see them integrated into the community, and these policies do nothing to encourage that. And furthermore, we're now, 18 months plus down the line from the beginning of the Ukrainian war and the first arrivals, almost 2 years since the first arrivals of Ukrainian refugees. We still don't have a plan. We don't have a coordinated approach to this. You still have the Department of Children responsible for housing refugees across the country, with very little support from the Department of Housing. It just, the mind boggles how...
And they're trapped in, and a lot of them are trapped in grouped accommodation and in hotels, even whilst working and what have you, because there's no alternative accommodation, or very little, and there's huge competition for it. It's incredibly expensive, and this has been created. That's the scenario where you find yourself in. So if I were in a hotel in Letterkenny and I was working locally, and I want to sort of start planning a future, it's impossible, because the only accommodation... Now, some would say, well, there should be welcome or glad of the accommodation, but still, it's not like we're not giving people an option to move from that and become less dependent on the state, for an example. Right, okay, this is separate, but it's all interconnected, I suppose. The reason why, what are the reasons behind this open event? It's taking place this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. in the Ramelton Community Centre. Refreshments and music will be on offer. It's an open event for new communities in and around the area. Everybody is welcome. Why this, why now?
I guess it was something that we had discussed, so myself and Rashna Mateus Laurenti from the Bridge Fire discussed that we wanted to do something to showcase the welcoming nature of Donegal people, and it was in direct response, really, the conversation to the Dublin riots and that sort of very visual, very violent, I suppose, kind of manifestation of the far right sort of rise and movement. Or even just the influence of the far right on other people, disenfranchised people, whatever way you want to interpret it. So we wanted to show that the local community is very welcoming, the vast majority of the local community, which we know they are, and also to provide newcomers to the area with an opportunity to meet one another and to meet locals. So it's just a very informal event. It's a very simple idea. It's just a gathering to kind of allow people to make connections in the community. But it also is an opportunity for local people to show and demonstrate their support for diversity in the community.
Yeah, because even if it is a minority that acted out like they did and expressed themselves like they do, and it is a minority, I'm not saying that there isn't a majority that have views, okay, but I think it's a minority that would express them in a way to make other people feel fearful, uncomfortable. You do hear from new members of new communities here that the level of fear they feel is probably greater than the threat to them, but not in any way diminishing that, okay? And it's all about how people feel and subjective, if you know what I mean. But the reality is I think for the most part, it is a safe and welcoming environment, and people don't really necessarily need to change how they go about their daily life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously that's easier said than done when there's a perception there of danger or, even that they're unwelcome or anything like that. So that, again, this event is trying to combat that in a very positive way. I think the other thing that we need to be mindful of is that the riots and that demonstration that took place very violently in Dublin a few weeks ago is, yes, it's 3.5-4 hours down the road, but there have been manifestations of similar far-right kind of tendencies in Donegal on our own doorstep. So it's about combating that as well. It's about showing elements of the far right that are very present in our county here in very, very small numbers, but often vocal or visible, that's not acceptable. And this is a welcoming place. And I think that people have very valid concerns around lots of issues around immigration and refugees coming to the area. But I don't think that they're linked in terms of being welcoming to people who are here. And I think that people can have concerns around housing and accommodation and all of that, but also understand that they're not linked necessarily to this issue.
And there are many people out there too who maybe will self-identify as the far right that you talk of, that will argue they're not far right at all. They just have concerns about immigration, how people are put into areas, when they're put into areas, and what have you, the appropriateness of certain areas and what. But I take what you're saying, Declan. That's your view. But I also are conscious that others might say
absolutely.
I'm not far right.
I understand that as well, but I guess when there are arson attacks on buildings that are proposed for refugee accommodation, that is far right.
Yeah, no, I don't think, I don't think anyone would argue with that. And I just wonder sometimes if second generation people that moved here, or even those that have been working in the community for 10 or 15 years, might feel like going to something like this to remind themselves that they're welcome here, because I know. People that never had any issues before over the last year, 2 years are being fingered as if, they probably made people better a couple of weeks earlier in the hospital. Okay, well, look, it's open to everyone. It is for new communities in the area. Everyone welcome. Wednesday, December 13th at 6:30 p.m, of course, in the Ramelton Community Centre. Refreshments and music. And when you say everyone's welcome, the local community, the new communities, and they're all one and the same, really.
The more the merrier, absolutely. So I think it's going to be a lovely evening, very positive evening, and everyone welcome for sure.
All right, Declan, listen, thanks for your time this morning. Take care. Declan Meehan there. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Okay, today, thanks to our friends at McGee's, we've got a 50 millilitre Chanel Coco Mademoiselle EDP spray for ladies. You have to come on air and unravel a piece of music and tell us what famous Christmas song it is. And if you're successful, you then go on to be in a draw for a €500 hamper. It's a cracker. So all you have to do, name, address where you're from. We'll want you to come on air, so please be inclined to do so. Have a bit of crack with us. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps or texts.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Gift sets by celebrity, by budget, or from the classic collection at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For the perfect present every time, visit mcgees.ie, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
This December, cozy up your home with the warmth of timeless furniture pieces from Foy & Company, Letterkenny and Ballybuffet stores. If you're looking for the perfect sofa to gather around with your loved ones, or maybe a dining table to host an unforgettable holiday dinner. And the best part, our special offers with reductions on selected items in both stores. Foy & Company, where style meets comfort, making your house a home this winter.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour with their award-winning live show. See The Three Amigos live. Conry Hotel Letterkenny, Tuesday, January 23rd. Tickets, priced €35, are now on sale at the hotel reception and Ticketmaster.ie, where extra charges may apply.
Happy Christmas from the Three Amigos!
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics to let you know we have a great range of Ninja appliances available for Christmas. They include the new Ninja Foodie Max dual zone air fryer, which has a large 9.5 litre capacity and 6 cooking functions, so you can cook 2 different foods 2 different ways with both ready at the same time. Also the new Ninja Flexi Drawer with a large 10.4 litre capacity. See our great range of Ninja appliances in store at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre Dunlow.
Find the Volkswagen new with a Caddy Cargo Transporter 6.1 Crafter and the new Amarok with HP finance from 4.9% and service plans from $12.99 per month. Book your test drive at Connolly's Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, Letterkenny, or visit connellys.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by the way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit VolkswagenVans.ie for more information.
We've gone mad here at Highland Radio. Enter our car draw for a chance to win €1,000 every day in our Grand A Day giveaway from December the 11th to 22nd. We could be dialing your number. All you have to do is answer and you could be walking away with a cool €1,000. But here's the twist. If the prize isn't won on a particular day, it rolls over to the next day. It's a call you don't want to miss. Get your ticket at highlandradio.com now to be in with a chance to win. Grab your ticket for only €10 today.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're joined on the programme now by Sinn Féin Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin. Good morning to you, Deputy. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
We're going to talk about the hospital, but I might just get your views as well on something we were just chatting to Declan Meehan about today, and it's on the front pages as well. Just your party's position on these new measures agreed by government to greatly reduce the welfare rates, the payments for people moving to Ireland from Ukraine, fleeing the war, or whatever country they move to here from, but also a 90-day limit on state-provided accommodation. Is this along the lines of what your party might do, or you're opposed to it, or what's your view?
No, we accept in terms of the reduced social welfare payments that it is necessary. Essentially, what this is an accommodation crisis. The government had clearly been very enthusiastic in relation to Ukrainian refugees. We have now about 100,000 across the state, and there's an obvious accommodation crisis. I mean, we've talked about it, Greg, in terms of Donegal and the lack of consultation. This isn't just Ukrainian refugees, this is also asylum seekers and temporary emergency centres, the disrespect shown to local communities, the failure to engage with GPs, with schools, with community leaders. So we do have an accommodation crisis, we have a real problem. The other difficulty, we accept that the social welfare rates will have to be reduced.
So you then accept that this is a deterrent for people coming here. It's to deter them to come here. Does that sit with you morally okay? Because it's the same drones and bombs and what have you, and the mines that are blowing up in Ukraine and killing people. That was, right from the very beginning of this. Is it appropriate now to say, well, we've got 100,000 and now we have to do something because, there's a housing crisis? The threat that someone in Ukraine today is facing, if people believe it to be a threat, is the exact same threat, 1 month into this incursion. So morally, that sits okay with you?
Well, I don't think it was ever fair that a Ukrainian refugee would receive the same, as somebody in Donegal, €220, while somebody who's an asylum seeker gets €38 a week. I mean, how can that be justified? That massive difference. It was, always, it didn't sit easy.
It's not
So
great, though, if
now,
we're using the direct provision system and the international protection system as the bar, though, is it? Like to bring people down to that bar. I mean, I'm sure I've had conversations with you over the last God knows how many years where you were looking for that bar to be elevated, and now we're talking about we'll bring others down to that level.
Well, I think I would say this is that we have a profound challenge in the country. If you look at Donegal, we have over 7,000 Ukrainian refugees. We have 1,500, people in temporary emergency centres. We know the impact this has had on our tourism sector in the county. We have to be honest about this. We have a challenge. We have a profound housing crisis for our own people in Donegal. We have people in defective block homes who are, struggling to rebuild their lives. I mean, we have a perfect storm in terms of housing. So this isn't about being cold or cruel. This is about being realistic about what we can do, with our own resources. If you compare the offering of Ireland in terms of Ukrainian refugees with all of our European states, Ireland per capita is way above the European average in terms of income support's way above it. So, I mean,
we have to be careful. We have to be careful with comparisons because in other countries, like Spain's £100 a week, so we're going to be a third of that. Germany's around £100 a week, but you get childcare and other benefits to try and ease you back into work. I think just to look at the headline figure of 220 and say that we're way and above everyone else, I don't think that's really an accurate analysis. Because I just think truth matters, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying you're not speaking the truth, don't get me wrong, but I don't think we can just say, well, it's 220 here and 100 there and that's it.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most concerned about is the 90 days because, we were always told that the Ukrainian refugees coming in wouldn't compete with local people for housing resources. Now that is going to be the case. So that's the thing I'm actually most concerned about, Greg, in Donegal.
What
and,
would you have
every
done
day.
in that situation, Porg?
Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
So what would you have done? What would your measure have been there then? If you're opposed to the 90 days, what would the alternative be?
Well, I mean, the difficulty, and I go back to the start 2 years ago, Greg, I mean, you remember this, the government were very enthusiastic, and I said this before, we're almost boasting about what we were doing. They talked about 200,000 people. There was no plan. They talked about modular housing. There was no plan. So, I mean, this is a huge challenge, and you have to work with local communities. But, I mean, I think the level of refugees that we've taken, we can't sustain. That's just, we've got to be honest about that. We can't sustain it. We can't.
So what would you have done about the 90 days? What would the alternative here? And I can see the problems with it, and I can see the problems in trying to enforce it for that matter. But what's the alternative?
Well, I think the difficulty up until now is that there's been unfortunately a huge incentive to locate here over European countries. I would imagine that number would significantly reduce now due to this belated government intervention, and in my opinion, it probably should have happened quite a while ago. And it's been obvious now, when we look at the situations we've had in Buncrana, we've had in West Donegal. I mean, we have a situation in South Donegal where our tourism sector is in serious trouble. We know this. We have hotels that had been struggling, that are now housing refugees. That has a huge impact on the wider economy. I mean, we have to have an honest conversation about what we can and can't do here. And I mean, I feel that that we have got that balance wrong. We do have international obligations. We do have obligations of members of the European Union, but we also have a profound housing crisis that our own people are facing. We have a defective block crisis in Donegal that our own people have, and you think there was no crisis the way the government have behaved. So I think this is unfortunately a necessary intervention from government.
Yeah, okay. Right, we invited you on to talk about your comments as it relates to ambulances backed up at Letterkenny University Hospital and the stress on the ED, which is really what we see, what is the sort of the visual of what's going on across the services more widely speaking, I think. The Minister for Health seems to have the opinion that at least some of the blame, if not all, depending on how you read his comments, is down to hospitals not discharging people at the weekends. Do you buy that?
No, a load of nonsense, Greg. You know, I mean, and you have seen GPs who've united together across Donegal. You have seen consultants at the hospital. There's now almost 30 that signed the most recent letter. And I've seen all that correspondence. You've seen it to the minister. They've outlined clearly that there has been systematic underfunding of Letterkenny Hospital over many years. When you compare Letterkenny, the number of inpatients, which is about 27,000 a year, to what the budget is, I mean, it is clear that we're underfunded. What does that mean? That means we don't have the nurses, the doctors, the beds that is required. That's the reality. Stephen Donnelly heard that. So he finally was forced to come to Donegal. That was welcome. I've talked to the doctors and the consultants who met him, and they I've seen what they've said to him, and particularly the emergency department's a big focus. You know, medical assessment units, additional capacity, separation of children, people with mental health. I mean, you know, last night I was talking to people, you know, who talked to me about, there was one man who was 79 sitting on a hard chair all day long. From it must have been, by the time I got the message, which was very, very late last night, it must have been that poor man was, I would say, 13, 14 hours. You know, if this is not a developing world country, Greg, you know, eight ambulances queued up outside. You know, it was even worse apparently a week ago. You know, this is not acceptable.
So you're gonna raise this with the Taoiseach today. You're gonna call for urgent intervention from government, and you've already seen what he'll say to you, because that information, unless he answers you off the top of his head, that information will be coming from the Department of Health. So they'll talk about the meetings, they'll talk about what they're going to do. But it really comes down to Letterkenny University Hospital being treated differently, more money, more resources. You know, it's kind of interesting, I think, and it was very welcome to see the HSE seemingly putting together incentive packages to try and attract occupation therapists and what have you to Donegal. I mean, if that model can be used in that area, and we'll have to wait to see how successful it is, we've been screaming for something like that for ages, for the likes of the hospital. A bit of positive discrimination, you know, incentivised packages for people to move up here. Like, when I was speaking to Jo Corkery there at the start of the week and she mentioned that, I was like, right, okay, that is great. But if it can be done in one part of the health system, why not another? Anyway, sorry, that's me off on a tangent there. But I mean, like, that's the kind of solutions we're talking about here. More money and more attractive propositions for people to come and work here.
Yeah, you're actually spot on, Greg. And again, you know, you have the parents of children with disabilities who have formed a team, have done absolutely fantastic work. You know, as you know, we've had a number of meetings now with HSE management. That point you've made about incentive packages, why can't we do that for doctors that we're struggling to attract to Letterkenny? I mean, I was speaking to a senior person in the hospital recently, and they asked that very question. You know, we need to attract surgeons, you know, top quality people here, consultants. And if we don't have incentive packages, you know, if we don't have, for example, a surgical hub, you know, where you're guaranteed to be able to work through your procedures, that there isn't huge waiting lists here in Letterkenny. There was a compromise, as you know, in recent times, suggesting Donegal Town, which is halfway between Sligo and Letterkenny. Now what's been asked for is operating theatres in Sligo and Letterkenny, which I think is fair enough. So, I mean, the Stephen Donnelly can have no doubt now. That's why we were so determined to get him up here, to meet with the GPs as one group, to meet with the consultants. I mean, I've been engaging with this consultant team who are speaking out, and they know what they're talking about. They understand the big picture in Ireland. They know how we've been neglected. They have access. I've submitted parliamentary questions on the back of issues that they've raised, and I've got the facts. And I want to say to the listeners today, to be very clear, Letterkenny University Hospital is being discriminated against for years and years in terms of budget. We do not get our fair share of allocation. That's why we have a crisis in terms of beds, doctors, nurses. That's the facts.
What's worrying about that is what you said there off the record. I've heard that from government ministers. Off the record. Exactly what you've just said, just in case people think that's an opposition point of view. Now, clearly it was off the record because you have to stick to a party line, but I, with my own ears, and I hope people can trust me to understand when I say that I say that with absolute honesty and honesty. Very finally, though, Minister Donnelly, and we have to be fair on this, he had concerns that consultants are doing too much private work and not enough public work down there. He has concerns that I think around about half of the people that are admitted today will be discharged tomorrow, and that maybe GPs are too quick to send people to the ED. Now, he didn't come down hard on them, right? But he was meeting with them and he said, look, I've got some concerns in that regard. Do you share those concerns? Because we have to say, look, it can't all be the HSE's and government's fault, that we do also have to make sure and keep an eye on that those within the hospital, the fantastic work that they do, that everyone's playing their part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it is a whole of health service solution. I mean, the problems, and like I have revealed in recent years that we're spending money rightly upgrading community hospitals, but there's no extra beds. So you take, Buncrana, Carndonna, for example, which is going to be upgraded, no extra beds. You go throughout Donegal, we've actually lost beds and nurses in community hospitals. Why is that important? Because if you cannot release people into these community hospitals from Letterkenny Hospital to recover, then that adds to the crisis. If you don't have enough GPs and support for GPs across Donegal, if you don't have enough radiology services, if you don't have enough primary care services, so yes, all of that matters, and all of those problems present as a bottleneck at the hospital. But the core issue is, and there's no doubt about this as a fact, that if you take their community hospitals, Letterkenny Hospital, we have been discriminated against, we've been let down, and we have problems in Donegal that you do not have in other counties. Yes, it's true, Limerick can be compared with us, Drogheda, I would say, could be compared with us, but in the main, the problems that we face in Donegal are unique, and they reflect discrimination, and that can't be argued with. So Stephen Donnelly has to stop, to be honest with you, trying to, I don't know, waffle, about, systems and all of this sort of stuff. I mean, he knows what needs to be done. He can't deny the facts as the consultants and GPs have presented, and he needs to act on it. And, if he doesn't act on it, I mean, this winter is just going to be horrible, with the hospital. You can see it. The ambulances will be backed up. That's going to put people's lives at risk across the county. Nobody in the health service wants this, but government need to resource it. There's no getting around it. All
right, we'll watch on with interest to your exchanges with the Taoiseach. Thank you very much for your time today. That's Deputy Padraig McLaughlin there. Margaret on Facebook says, fair play to that man, well-spoken, a true Donegal man. You're a bit of a turncoat today, Greg. Well, Margaret, I have to ask questions. I'm not here to be a publicist for the opposition as well. And if you look at the questions I would have put to Declan and look at the questions I would have put to Porrig, they're coming from two different viewpoints. But the only way to tease out policy, to tease out issues and to tease out opinions is to question people on them and put opposing points of view to them. So, well, if you think I'm a turncoat, that's fine. But that's the job, It's not. I'm not here as a PR for opposition either. It's to hold everyone to account and to get to the bottom of people's views and what have you. I mean, you might note that Deputy McLaughlin, for one reason or another, didn't respond as to what's the alternative to the 90-day limit on housing. Sometimes the non-answer to a question is kind of an answer as well.
The 9 till noon show with McGee's Chemist Main Street, Letterkenny, offering a great range of digital cameras and binoculars for Christmas. McGee's, the photographic experts, where the best costs less.
To help with the cost of heating your home during the winter months, the fuel allowance scheme is now available. This allowance is paid at a rate of €33 a week for 28 weeks. To find out more and check your eligibility, visit gov.ie/fuel allowance. The quickest and easiest way to apply is online at mywelfare.ie. One payment per household. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Check out these special offers at Simpson's Supermarket, Letterkenny. There's quality street tins, €10. Coke Zero, Coke Diet cans, 12-pack, €7. Tato cheese and onion assorted 12-pack, €3.50. There's the Slur range 750ml, 2 for €3.50. Plus, we are now taking orders for your Christmas turkey. While there, check out Peggy's Kitchen Cafe, only 2 minutes from Letterkenny Hospital. For all your Christmas needs, it has to be Simpson's Supermarket, with great value every day.
Tinny's Toys, Ireland's largest farm toy superstore, isn't just about farm toys. We've loads of fun outdoor toys for kids, such as electric scooters, crazy carts, electric quads, jeeps, tractors, and so much more. Hassle-free parking at the door with no traffic jams. Our Christmas Club is now open too, and a wee deposit secures your item. Tinny's Toys, Leck Road, Letterkenny, or online at tinnystoys.com. Lay down.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
And now the Highland weather, brought to you by Shop LK. An accumulation of Christmas shoppers will descend on Letterkenny this December. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Cloudy with a few showers this morning, but they will quickly die out with some rather clear and bright spells developing later. Northerly winds will ease too, with highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees. Cloud will build from the west later this afternoon with outbreaks of rain developing in the evening. Some of your comments here. We need to stop walking around on eggshells, re this refugee situation. Afraid to speak, government has made a decision, albeit too late, and have now caused another problem, that listener believes. Good morning, Greg. It's time to close the border and deport all illegals, then see what we're dealing with. We need a government that put the people of Ireland first, not their European puppets. We don't have any legal obligation to take them in. We found that out last week in the Dáil. Pádraig McLaughlin didn't answer the question on his opinion of the 90 days for immigrants. Why did he not answer? Another 90 days is very generous, especially when they can finance and find their way home for Christmas. It's time Ireland took a stand, and let's not be fooled. The only reason it is now being taken is because there's an election looming, and they know the silent majority are not in favour of accepting more refugees. So who are you going to vote for? I wonder. But I suppose the law's changed, so maybe the mood has changed. Good morning, Greg. Mr. Meehan has no problem calling people who have concerns far right. It's about time these people are called far left when they are on your show, just to give them a taste of what they see, how they like. Yeah, as I said to you before, it's labelling people far left, far right. Far left is not really a slur as such, but far right is seen by some as. Tell Mr. Meehan the riots created change. It's an insult to call anyone who doesn't agree with the government the far right type of language. It creates division. The conversation about reducing, the one thing I will say is, I'm not saying it didn't create change, but the conversation about payments and time limits on accommodation predates the riots. There's no war in Ukraine. When they're able to travel to Ukraine and back to Ireland again, people need to wake up. I don't think people are, but I think people are generally aware that there are some people going home for Christmas. I don't think it's a secret. Right, Julie Patton joins us on the programme now. Julie, thank you for your time today. I do appreciate it.
Hi, Greg. How are you? I'm
okay, Julie. Now, you lost your son, Shane, just 18 years of age. He was killed by a drunk driver in Donegal back in July of 2012. And, you know, we welcome you onto the programme to speak, to honour Shane's memory as well, but to speak at this time of year particularly when people may make poor decisions. And we want to avoid more families going through this devastation. And I'm sure it feels for you, Julie, like yesterday or this morning that this happened to you and your family.
Yeah, you just remember every day you get up, you just remember how raw it is, and you have to keep going, and you just hope that highlighting road safety and Anam Cara will help people become aware of the devastation that can be caused and the devastation of losing a child.
Yeah, it's a two-part conversation, isn't it? We don't want any other family to have to go through that, but we also want any families that have, and particularly at this time of year, that they get support, supports that are there.
Yeah, there's Anam Cara was set up in 2008. That's a support group for parents. That's a support group for bereaved parents. There's 14 face-to-face meetings every month throughout Ireland. Our own, like it's held here in the Radisson Hotel in Letterkenny on the second Thursday of every month. I would be a parent that goes to the meetings, but I would also be a parent facilitator at the Anam Cara meeting. It's just a support group to help people that's in the same situation as yourself, that may have lost a child through different reasons. Could be through sickness, could be through a road traffic accident, could be through suicide. Like, there's loads of different scenarios, but like, it's so as we all can get together and know that everybody's in the same situation.
Yeah, and we all deal with loss and grief in different ways, and for some it may not be their time to be around others or to attend meetings or to have discussions, but there's a lot of people out there that would really benefit, I think, from speaking to people that really get the loss and pain that they're living with.
Yeah, I personally didn't start going to meetings till about 3.5, 4 years after Shane died. But I do find them now that they are helpful, and for me they're helpful now. Not everybody goes that has lost a child. Some people go early on and it helps them. Some people go later. So, like, there's no time limit or the right time to go. It's when you feel that it's time to suit you. Now, you can go to these meetings, you don't have to talk. You can just go and see if it helps you, and there's no
pressure to speak.
Pressure on any parent to speak at the meetings.
Just go and
but everything is confidential
and see what's good for you and what works for you. That it's great, and I'll remind people of the meeting, of course, Julie. But just in the general wider population, it's important we keep an eye on each other and be a shoulder or an ear or whatever is required, because presumably, and it's pretty obvious, I suppose, birthdays, anniversaries, and maybe even particularly Christmas, because time freezes for people as well. If someone loses a child at 9, they're 9 every Christmas. You know what I mean? And it can be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, like, that child never grows old, regardless of what age they are. That's the age that you remember them at. Then you see other milestones that maybe they should be turning 30 this year, but they never got to experience that. And you see older friends celebrating, and it is difficult, but you're happy for other people. But the support is definitely needed as well at these times.
Yeah, and it's just really to give people an opportunity to talk if they want to talk, isn't it? It's just to say, are you okay? How are you feeling? But ask the question in earnest, so that if they want to say something, they feel they're in a space that they can. Yeah, and
everybody has got like time to speak, or if you don't want to speak there, like, there's support groups online as well with Dan and Cara. You have their website that you can go on there.
I might actually, while you mention the website, I might actually mention that Anam Cara is asking everyone to light up their virtual Christmas tree with a very special light of love in memory of loved ones. And you can donate, and in doing so, you'll be helping Anam Cara's work with bereaved families. And it's not road traffic collisions or sudden death, or it's absolutely everyone. It's for everyone who's been predeceased by their child. And you can go onto the website anamcara.ie, ANAMCRA.ie, and you can make a donation there and add to the light of love in memory of a loved one, and in the process support Anam Cara's work that they do. And just to remind people again, there's a meeting tomorrow. It might be the first time you ever attend, or maybe you just feel that you want to go back, just given the time of the year. It's going to be in the Radisson Hotel in Letterkenny. It's at 7:15 p.m. and all bereaved parents from the area are welcome. Excuse me. And as we've mentioned, regardless of the age their child died or circumstances of death, there's no need to register. You just arrive on the evening at 7:15 p.m. And as you say, Julie, there's no pressure. You can just go and sit and listen, or you could go and sit and talk. It's a very welcome space, and it's what works for, and it could be one partner and another partner are different people as well, Julie. It's for everybody. Yeah, it's for, like, both partners can go. They can go single. Like, just when you come, like, there's always, like, the parents facilitators. There's usually 2, maybe 3 of us, and then we have a woman as well who's kind of, she's just
kind of overall, and she kind of just makes sure everything's okay. She's just a facilitator. She's not a parent facilitator, so she doesn't have briefs, but she's but everything is confidential whenever you come in, and we try to make everybody feel as welcome as possible.
All right, Julie, thank you for that.
And give them this time and to talk.
Yep, 7:15 tomorrow. No need to register. It's at the Anam Cara meeting at the Radisson Hotel, Letterkenny at 7:15. It's for all bereaved parents. They're all welcome. Okay, thank you, Julie, for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
Take care, Julie. That's Julie Patton there.
Fill your stocking this Christmas from all the great gift ideas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show. See mcgees.ie or like McGee's on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
Make their Christmas electric with gifts from Currys. Get the 15-inch HP laptop with Ryzen 3 processor, now only $349. Save €100 and save €25 when you buy Microsoft 365 Personal with selected laptops, now only $54.99. Find the ideal gift for everyone on your list, in-store or online at currys.ie.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. 5-pack wood logs buy 3 for €13. Hardwood log crate 450 kg, only €329. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Send Christmas smiles from Alcorn's festive flower selection. Lovingly remember those we miss with a tribute from our Christmas selection. All our orders are handmade in store, so please order early. Wishing you your best Christmas from all at Alcorn's.
If you're doing some shopping today and fancy taking the weight off your feet or forgetting about having to cook when you get home, take a seat at Kelly's award-winning diner in Letterkenny and select from a menu that's packed with great value, family favourite choices. Relax over a coffee and sandwich, maybe a bite of lunch, something for dinner, or a treat from the dessert menu. Great food and great service every day at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. With the recent focus on climate change and the likelihood of extreme weather events over the coming weeks and months, Donegal County Council would like to remind farmers of the importance of protecting watercourses during this busy time in the farmyard. Keep a regular check on gutters and downpipes to minimise soiled water and make sure all silage effluent is collected by keeping channels clean. Prevent sediment from yards, roadways or the poaching of land making its way into streams. All milk producers are reminded that spreading of soiled water to land is prohibited between the 10th of December and the 31st of December this year. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €8.5 million. Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
And now, IMRO's 2023 Best Local Original News Programme, The Voice of the Northwest, The 9 till noon show, with Greg Hughes.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. It is the 9 till noon show. We're going to be giving away loads of prizes, including, fingers crossed, €2,000 in the next hour. Stay tuned. But at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There's a warning that lives are at risk across Donegal. It comes as it's emerged 8 ambulances were backed up outside Letterkenny University Hospital yesterday. Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin is to raise the matter with the Taoiseach in the Dáil this afternoon, along with the ongoing crisis at the hospital's emergency department. The Irish government has been accused of turning a blind eye to the mishandling of the case of Dennis Donaldson. Mr Donaldson's family have issued a statement following the 26th adjournment of the inquest into his death last Friday. The 55-year-old was shot dead in Glenties in April 2006, where he had been hiding out after being exposed as an informer. Almost 200 countries have agreed for the first time ever to transition away from fossil fuels. A draft agreement at the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai was revised after some nations thought it didn't go far enough. The now approved text isn't legally binding though and stops short of demanding countries phase out oil, coal and gas. A Donegal deputy has pressed the government for a cross-sectoral response to the mortgageability of remediated homes under the Enhanced Effective Concrete Block Redress Scheme. Deputy Thomas Pringle asked the Dáil yesterday if a committee will be established as outlined by the Banking and Payments Federation, as they cannot give mortgage assurances to homeowners with defective homes alone. The North Secretary of State is meeting Stormont Party leaders again later for further talks on a proposed financial package for Northern Ireland. The £2.5 billion offer includes a deal on pay for public sector workers who've been taking to the picket lines. There's calls for full transparency from Uisce Éireann in Donegal. The Cathaoirleach of the Glenties Municipal District says communication from the utility is severely lacking, as he received correspondence from Uisce Éireann yesterday acknowledging a complaint he had submitted in August. And Donegal has been hit by another earthquake. On Sunday last, a 1.3 magnitude earthquake occurred on the Fanad Peninsula, 5 kilometres east of Kerry-Keel. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12.
Yes, I was contacted about that earthquake and I forgot to mention it on Monday, and then I was off yesterday.
Helpful,
A few people heard it was like a big bang.
Yeah, thunder-like. It's been described as.
That's what people say.
You would panic.
Say. I think you put it down to something else. I think, just a lorry or something.
Yeah, well, maybe me being so pessimistic, I'd probably think, it's coming down top of me.
Seismistic, huh? See what I did there? Come here. To mark the decades of centenaries in conjunction with the Donegal County Museum, you have produced a 4-part podcast series. Tell us a little bit about it.
So I have been working with the Donegal County Museum, and they had these talks. There was 4 different talks to mark the decade of centenary, so we've developed them into a podcast, and it was so interesting. So it's from the first one tonight is Untold Stories of Donegal Women during the Revolutionary Period. So it kind of, the way we imagine it's all men fighting in the war, but it's
that's what history sort of dictates to us, isn't it?
So it's kind of going beyond what we know, and even what women just going about their everyday lives were subjected to during that period. So it goes from then right up to the Drumbo Martyrs. It's starting tonight.
Now, you have brilliant guests in it on the show, representatives from the Donegal County Museum and the Donegal Archivist, whose work and research is the basis of the episodes, and there's some really good information there. We're not speculating here.
Yeah.
We have the stuff
the research
to reflect on.
That they have and the knowledge is unbelievable, and it's based on there's one coming up, the Irish Grant Committee, Donegal Claims and Compensation. So they've looked at them records and then been able to develop and piece together different stories of people from that time. So it's amazing the work that they've done and the time they've spent developing it as well.
Right, so the first episode, The Untold Stories of Donegal Women During the Revolutionary Period, it starts tonight at 8 p.m. Is it on air?
It's on air.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so it's going to be an on-air and podcast feature.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and online.
That's tonight at 8. All right, so listen on to that. We'll remind people of that again, of course, before we wrap up the show. Thanks very much, Michaela. Michaela Clark from the newsroom. Back with you a little later on with more news, of course.
This Christmas, it's the perfect time to let loved ones know how much they mean to you. And nothing shows love at Christmas quite like Post. And don't forget, the last day for posting parcels to Europe is Thursday, 14th of December. Send from the heart. On Post. For your world. T's and C's apply.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the last hour of this Wednesday show. I hope you're all keeping very well indeed. Well done to Julie. Sending love. That comes in from Mary C. If public representatives tell you off the record that Letterkenny Hospital is underfunded, but you have to toe the party line, then are they actually representing their constituents at all? What's the point in having a view but being prevented from uttering it publicly? Maybe we should have a government that has got no political parties, just a collection of elected people working for the good of everyone. Having to support an issue that your electors don't believe is correct is not democracy. Now, this is a minister from outside of the county that I bumped into. Not one from within the county. All these climate change warriors all have forgotten the Ice Age period and why the climate heated up back then to melt it all. Could it be that it was just the natural cycle of things, that the earth heats up and then cools down over time? If that's what you want to believe, that's okay. Hi, Greg. Most of the consultants we met over the last few days in the ED have only been there 10 months. Another 4 months plus just arrived. That's what we're told by them when talking to them. They were run off their feet. pure madness up in the ED there. And on it goes. Thank you for all of your comments coming in. Right, okay. Wellness Wednesday, Brendan Kilkenny emailed us about his experience of loneliness and the steps he's taken to tackle it. He joins us on the programme now, Brendan, and maybe this can be an inspiration to others or a pathway to others. Brendan, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Donegal.
It's good to have you with us. Right, okay, so loneliness, is it subjective? Is it easily recognisable to everybody? What is, in your mind, loneliness? Or what was the loneliness that you felt, Brendan?
Yeah, very understandable. Basically, a person who's very outgoing, very extrovert, basically ran a lot of friendship clubs back in the 90s, was a disc jockey on a lot of radio stations playing love songs, etc. And I finished up my last 8.25 years before retiring. 370 people. I adored the people. We worked together all week and we partied at the weekend out on a Friday night together. So, 9th of April 2021, the middle of COVID, Brendan retires. He goes from 370 people to one person. I had family, I had some friends, and I had invitations every now and again to go back with my workmates, but they were very sporadic because COVID changed everything, hybrid working, etc. They didn't go out on Friday nights, etc. So when people said, Bren, how is your retirement going? I was 90% truthful. It's a fairy tale. All the time in the world to do the things I never had time to do. Joined a pitch and putt club, play pitch and putt. Listened to all the records I never had time to listen to. Read all the books I never had time to read. But I was doing all this by myself. I was in my own headspace for 2.5 years.
Now, before we move on, Brendan, and I want to pick up from there, and I will, Brendan, but I just want to get an insight into it. Like, your experience of loneliness and being on your own effectively, was it exacerbated by COVID, or do you think that even in the absence of COVID, that those invitations from former colleagues fall away, and you know, those friends that you had something in common, be it the work or whatever, that they fall away? And your experience was during COVID, but I think a lot of people, even with the death of a partner, that those sort of connections can fall away in any case, if you know what I mean. Do you think that is the case, Brendan?
You have a certain point there, Greg, but my experience was so huge there, and they used to get me to go around all the building and do the speeches when people were leaving and when people were having parties, etc., birthday parties, that mine was such a close one with them that I believe that my social life would have been quite still big without COVID with them. But COVID came along and I knew things had changed forever. And of course there might be a bit that people move on, you retire, you move on, people move on. But I've no doubt that except for COVID, I probably wouldn't be in this situation. But ifs and buts make pots and pans. Basically speaking, we have to deal with reality. And I knew, Brendan, no one's going to come knocking on your door to get you out of this. I want to be part of a big community again. Yeah. But how am I going to do that? I'm retired. I'm cut off a lot, I am, from the world that I had. So basically, 2.5 years sailing along, drifting aimlessly. And then I said to myself at the beginning of September, you've got to be proactive, Brendan. You've got to reach out and you've got to make it all happen again. And I asked myself one question, are you capable of doing this? And I said 100%. Yeah. So I went out into the big world again, and in 10 weeks, well, it was in 3 days, my life totally transformed, and now I want to transform other people's lives.
So, you know,
if you want to ask me quickly how I did that.
I will, of course, I'll get to that. But I want to talk about your 2.5 years of, happiness, really, playing pitch and putt, out doing your own thing, reading the books that you want to read, listen to the records that you want to.
Loads of time.
Well, afterwards, did you say, was I happy, or was it just, was I running the clock down or something? Do you know what I mean? Or was there a moment that you said that, right, this is not for me here, this is not the person I was? Or, like, what's your...
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right throughout, Greg, the 2.5 years, it was a corollary thing, parallel thing. I was doing all this, but I said to myself, you're doing most of this by yourself, but you're a people person. So basically, I was happy in a way, but I wasn't fulfilled. And there was a part of me, a small part of me, that was existing rather than living. See, living is being around people. I think anyway, living is, getting that adrenaline rush, having a few challenges in your life. And they were no longer there, Greg. So this 2.5 years of sailing along, for me, it had to come to an end.
Yeah.
But it took a long time for me to realise that, hey, this is nowhere near enough for you, Brendan. You've got to have a load of people around you again to do this. And I'm even more convinced after I did it. I am totally inspired now. I have a massive purpose in life. I could hide away now and say, you've solved your problem. Be selfish and don't tell people how to go about, maybe if you're lonely in Donegal listening to Brendan here. But I couldn't be that selfish person. Mm-hmm. I want to let people know out there that the feeling you get when you're around people, like I'm going in today to a thing between 1 and 4, a club that saved my life in Dublin. And I'm so looking forward to it. A live band, 100 people, and basically I'm going to be out dancing on the floor. And I hadn't been bopping consistently on the floor since my 20s. And now in my 60s, I'm having the time of my life.
Okay.
And
so, Brendan, we know where you're at now, but we also know where you were, and you've done this in short shrift. So, what advice can you give people? And just before you go to that, Brendan, we have discussed on this program, there's an awful lot, even in a rural part of the world like the Northwest, there's an awful lot of different things going on in different communities, be it bowling, be it dancing, social dancing, artistry, community work. There is lots, men's sheds. There is lots of stuff out there. Now, access can be an issue in terms of travel, but listen, maybe we can overcome that. So what I'm saying is this is not a sort of a Dublin solution to a Donegal problem, because we do have quite a lot going on up here. So, right, you said, right, enough is enough.
Why are the people lonely still then? What is it partly to do with them then, that they're not being proactive? Or are they sitting down like I was?
Well, I'll tell you what happens. What can often happen is you're local in this part of the world. Firstly, you retire or you're somewhat older. Although there's people in their 50s, it's often referred to up here as rural isolation. The local pub that you used to go to. The local pub you used to go to is closed, or maybe you don't play golf anymore because your knee's gone. The post office is closed, so that interaction that you had with people is gone. Maybe the local shop is gone. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe we have lost our sense of community, that we don't call around and see how each other are because we're all fearful or something or other. Yeah. I think there's maybe your partner passed away and they were the social one that you went along to things with. Brendan, in my experience from chatting to people find themselves in the situation rather than it being a choice, but it's then us empowering ourselves to sort of, to start engaging with people again. Because yourself, when you sort of stop hanging around people and talking to people, the longer you leave it, the kind of more awkward it can be to sort of to take those first steps. You can kind of get somewhat institutionalized in yourself.
You settle for it, Greg. You settle for it, and this is going to be my life the next 20 years. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying. And Greg, before I go, can I just say... You're
not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere, Brendan. You're going to tell me what you did to get from dancing on a Wednesday night from a few months ago, sort of, listening to music on your own, thinking there must be more to my life than this. So what did you do, Brendan?
Yeah, basically, this 5-step plan that I have, and it's not rocket science. You've gone through a bit of it yourself. There's things up in Donegal for people to do, but there might be various help thing. There might be the pub closed, might be people kind of settling for a quiet life. But this 5-point plan, all you have to do is hit lucky with one of the 5 points, and you don't have to do the other 4. Can I start off with the one that worked for me and that changed my life? It was basically going to a search engine, say Google or whatever, and I'm going to do it for the Donegal listeners. You put in either friendship clubs in Donegal or social clubs in Donegal. Now, it mightn't be as easy to come up with as in Dublin, but in Dublin, one kept coming up all the time, and that was the one that changed my life out of the 2 that I joined. Now, that's one. That worked for me. But could this one work? It couldn't be more simple. Now, I have shops in Palmerstown, West Dublin, where I am. There's about 11 or 12 shops. I'm not sure in the country it could be a bit different. But what you do is you're lonely, you've lost your confidence, you've lost your mojo, you have the head down when you're walking out, and you mightn't kind of be looking for too much eye contact. I don't care when you go out your door to get your pint of milk or your loaf of bread if your head is down. But when you reach that first shop in Donegal, locally, wherever you are, I want you to put your head up, but don't go into the shop. Look at the window, the shop window, and see, is there any little small notices or a big poster? The little small notice might advertise a coffee morning. The big notice might say a dance. Now, you mightn't be ready for a dance, but take down the phone number, ring the phone number and say, I'm lonely, I have been lonely for a while, I'm not ready for a dance, but is there anything in the area where people can come together for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and have a chat? The poster, so that's the dance one. The coffee morning could be on a little small notice. Now, you might say, hey, I've been lonely for a long time. I wouldn't have the confidence to go in to 20 people for a coffee morning. But the thing is, no gain without pain. Basically, which would you prefer? Be by yourself for the next 20 years or be uncomfortable temporarily and walk in? Just say something like, are you looking forward to Christmas, or it's very cold out there? And you might even find someone will say, do you want a cup of tea or coffee before you even say a word? That's number 2. 3, if there's a citizen advice information centre, give them a bell. 4, have a look and see is there any parish hall or community council. Go along or ring them up. You often hear about meals on wheels, etc. as well. That's another one. And another one that is a good idea. I'm sure it's been mentioned before. No money, but you'll get people. You get talking to people, volunteering. Are there any charity shops around? So my advice is there's 5, and I think that if you try, you mightn't even have to go through more than 2 or 3 of them. I only was lucky enough to go through 1, you know?
Okay, well, listen, Brennan, it's great advice. And as you say, you know, there is a difference between living and existing. And you've found that switch. And I'm delighted to hear how well it is going for you. So enjoy the dance this afternoon and enjoy everything else you've got coming up. A very happy Christmas
Thanks a million,
to you.
Greg.
And it's been lovely speaking to you, Brendan. And I think the key message is, you know, you do have to sort of give yourself a kick up the bum too, maybe, and sort of say, well, what can I do about this situation?
Yeah.
You know, because we set barriers, don't we, for everything, be it going to the GP or doing this, that and the other. We always try and avoid it. So sometimes we just have to put on our big boy
mind
pants
over matter as well, you know.
All right, then. Take care of yourself, Brendan. Thank you very much indeed. Brendan Kilkenny there. All right. Someone's going to be hopefully $2,000 better off in the not too distant future.
The 9 till noon show with McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, offering a great range of digital cameras and binoculars for Christmas. McGee's, the photographic experts, where the best costs less.
Give the gift of Redcastle Hotel and Spa to your loved ones this Christmas. Choose from a range of memorable experiences to suit all. Visit our website to view and purchase our gift voucher offers and experiences, including our winter getaway offer from only €125 per couple. For more information, see redcastlehoteldonegal.com.
You know me. I do like a home that's warm and cosy during these cold winter months. In fact, the warmer and cosier, the better. That's why I insist on Willow Warm long burning briquettes. They're grown and made here in Ireland, and they're 100% carbon neutral. So Willow Warm briquettes are good for the environment, for the country, and your pocket. Willow Warm, the brighter, cleaner, greener way to a cosy home. See willowwarm.ie for stockists.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Impress this Christmas with magical starters at Lidl. A must-have for special occasions. Our superb deluxe organic smoked salmon, only $4.29. And spread the luxury with our deluxe pate selection, only $3.99. Wishing you a magical Christmas with Lidl.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Clare Clothing Letterkenny. We can help you with your Christmas gifting this year. Jewellery, gift vouchers and 30% discount off Naya. Wishing you a peaceful and happy Christmas from Claire and Lisa.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time's just turning 11:24. Now it's time for our competition in association with McGee's Chemists. This week on the 9 till noon show, we've got a hamper worth over €500 to be won, courtesy of McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny and on McGee's.ie. It includes a large blank canvas purple 3-piece gift set to Be Perfect Muted palette and a Jimmy Choo ladies fragrance. There's also a 20 by 16 gallery wrapped canvas in there, so you can have your favourite photo wrapped in canvas and ready to hang on the wall. That's Friday's prize. Every day, though, this week, we're giving away a beautiful perfume or spray. Today, it's 50 millilitres of Chanel Coco Mademoiselle EDP spray for ladies. Okay, John Duggan joins us from Gweedore. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing good. You're from Gweedore. You're making a few pound in Falcara today.
Yeah, I'm working for Kelty's in Falcara.
Very good.
On the estate there.
Very good. Okay, John. Well, listen, I'm going to play a bit of music. It's a wee bit mixed up, right? It's a Christmas song.
Yeah.
And I hope that you get this correct. I'm not going to be like Lee Gooch in the morning, do you know, where he makes you think you might have it, and then he goes, and it ruins your day.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm going to try my best with you here, all right? So have a quick listen to this. You can play away at home or at work or wherever you are. See if you recognise it. Okay, here it is. It's about 12 seconds long, John. It sounds about the same backwards as it does forward. I know you're down the telephone line, John. Did you recognise it?
No, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't recognise it. No, it's a very bad line here.
It is a very bad line there. But, like, this is a band who think Christmas shouldn't just be on December the 25th. They'd like it to be every single day all year round. Huh?
It's Slade, is it?
It's close, but if you even give me the type of the song, they wish what?
Wish it was Christmas every day.
Oh, very good. And yeah, I think it was on the tip of your tongue. You were about to tell us that Wizard sing that, weren't you?
Wizard, yeah.
I know you were saying that. Just the line broke down just as he said Wizard. That's the story I'm sticking to. That's it, right, John. Well, now come here. I have, thanks to McGee's, I have a 50 millilitre Chanel Coco Mademoiselle EDP spray. You can stick it on yourself, but there might be a lady in your life that might get better use out of it. So that's yours. You have that. Thanks so much for calling. And you now have a 1 in 5 chance of winning that brilliant €500 voucher. Hamper, thanks to McGee's later in the week on Friday. So you've won already, and who's to say you could be Friday's winner too. It's been lovely chatting to you, John.
Thank you very much.
All right. Do you want to say?
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to say hello to anyone?
Yeah, just all the staff here at Kelsey's for car.
Okay, very good. For all your wireless temperature sensor needs.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye. We'll be joined by Chris Ashmore after this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Fill your stocking this Christmas from all the great gift ideas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show. See mcgees.ie or like McGee's on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
At Tesco, we're helping you become more Christmas. Mix and match with 3 for 2 on hundreds of meats and cheeses, like Tesco finest barrel-aged feta. Don't forget the crackers. Our finest certified Irish Angus centre cut fillet barrel is now half price. And write down the date before the big day, because our Board BA approved fresh Irish turkeys are available in store from December 19th. Tesco. Every little helps. Club card required, subject to availability. Cheapest product free. Available in most stores. Prices vary in express stores. See tesco.ie.
Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny, your only Volkswagen passenger and commercials dealer for Donegal. Order your 241 Volkswagen today. Get a cheaper quote. We will beat any quote on any new Volkswagen model. T's and C's apply. For more information, call our sales team today on 074 9122 333 or see our full range at connellys.ie.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
Christmas gifting with Irwin Expert Electrical. All the big brands under one roof. Samsung tablets from €139, air fryers from €69, and a huge range of Dyson and Shark hair care. Smartwatches, gadgets, and TVs. There's sure to be something for everyone. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Put your money where your heart is this Christmas with a Strabane gift card. Purchasing a Strabane gift card is the perfect way to support local businesses and can be used in over 70 businesses, making it the perfect gift this Christmas. So, love local today. Buy the Strabane gift card at O'Neill Sportswear, the Alley Theatre, or online at lovestrabane.com.
Business Matters in association with Atlantic Technological University, Donegal. Study for a Doctorate of Business Administration and obtain the highest level management qualification available. Visit atu.ie/DBA.
Okay, that means it's time to look forward to Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast and maybe catch up on some business news. And we welcome Chris Ashmore to presenter into studio with us. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning,
Thanks,
Greg.
For calling in. I suppose just a few points before we get to the podcast itself. Good news for the local enterprise office?
Yes, an award given to them. It was the Excellence in Local Government Awards, and they won the Diversity and Inclusion Award. And this was for their programme called Ambition. And essentially, it's a programme to help encourage women to get involved in business. And it's there's a lot of supports out there. You might have heard during the week, of course, there were figures out about the gender pay gap. And there's a big push on to get more women to look into business and to maybe start something themselves. And here in Donegal, you know, there's all sorts of people opening up their own small businesses. There's lots of supports out there. The local enterprise office provides many of them, and this ambition program which they have, that is a great first step for people.
All right, we've been tracking, I suppose, new housing plans right across the county in consecutive weeks. Encouraging if they come to fruition, of course.
Indeed, but we go back a few years ago, there was hardly any house building at all, and there seems to be a steady stream. But as you touched on there, from lodging the planning permission to actually getting people in the houses can be somewhat of a time lag. Nevertheless, this week, B&E Hone Construction Limited have lodged a planning application with Donegal County Council seeking permission to construct 21 houses in Falcarra. Meanwhile, MCF Construction Limited, they have been granted planning permission, subject to a number of conditions, which is par for the course, to build 48 new homes at Portnason in Ballyshannon, so that's good there. And also, Greg, a decision is due any day this week from the council in relation to a planning application to construct a caravan, motorhome and camping park at Kill in Dunfanaghy. So again, that's a tourism-related story. So obviously a vote of confidence if people think, there's going to be.
Too.
Absolutely.
It'll
Absolutely.
be a capacity all summer, you can be sure, if it comes to pass. I have a wee bit of an interest in this myself in terms of the amount of energy that wind produces on this island, because both north and south at times the majority of our energy needs are met by wind generation. Now, the issue is getting it to homes and storing it so that we, when the wind's not blowing or when we need it, that it's there.
Yes.
But in terms of the infrastructure, at times, as I say, I think last week it was a record, something like 80% of the needs of the entire island were being met through wind generation. Chris, I'm sure you've more info, though.
Yeah, no, there's actually quite a nice little website you can go on. Anybody can just log on to. It's called windenergy.ie live, and you can get an update at any given time as to how much electricity is being generated. So I actually logged onto it. It was quite late last night, and it was reasonably blustery here in Donegal, and I looked on it, and at the time 62% of the country's electricity was coming from wind energy. Now, I suppose, you can look at it in a number of ways. Obviously, that's an off-peak time of the day. At peak hours, sometimes the figure will be less because just we can't produce it all. But the November wind energy report, now that this comes out every month, it showed that November of this year, wind energy comprised 37% of Ireland's electricity, and that was the third highest month for wind energy generation this year. It can peak, and as you mentioned there was a new record for wind generation this week. So it just shows, it's becoming more and more important, increasing share of the market. And now,
well, at the moment, because we are live here as well, we have it up on screen for us. As you say, it's different at peak times and how the wind is blowing. We're in a bit of a trough at the moment, but still 12% of the island's current electricity demand is being met by wind alone. That's just right now. So it's not very breezy, it's kind of cool. No. So that would be on the low end of it. But still, and that's being used now because we're drawing it as it's being generated. So that says it's powering at the moment the equivalent of 454,000 Irish homes, or, if you're interested in this type of thing, 17.5 million decent mugs of tea.
Right.
All right, so they have a little bit of a sense of humour as well, Chris, it seems.
And look, if we were sitting here 20 years ago, it might have been 1%. So there's been a huge increase. And
as soon as they sort out the fact that they guarantee the wind energy providers the same price as we pay for coal or gas burnt generated energy. Because other than that, that's not saving us anything, right? If you love the environment, it's great, okay? But that's virtually free electricity at this stage because the infrastructure has been paid for, but we're still paying for that wind energy the exact same we pay for coal-fired burnt energy, and that's the problem. That's why the public aren't. That's why I'm not doing cartwheels, Chris. But maybe I should be looking at the bigger picture.
It's moving in the right direction. But, the main thing is when the wind's not blowing, we have to get electricity from somewhere else. And that's why we still have the fossil fuels.
I should be paying 12% less for the power now because it's being created by wind. That's my view.
But you may have seen also during the week, couple of electricity price cuts. So hopefully we'll see that from more of the utilities.
SSE electricity down 11%, I think, from the 1st of Feb for electricity. Right, anyway. That's the kind of fleet-footedness you get in this show now. We're just literally live tracking how much wind energy there is being created. But let's talk about this podcast, Chris. What's coming up? Who's your guest?
Guest this week is Inishowen entrepreneur and farmer Neil Crossan. Now, he's developed a thriving business based on farming worms. Now, when we think of farming, we normally think of cattle, sheep, crops, pigs, whatever. He is based just outside Quigley's Point in Inishowen, and he is his company Living Green is the largest producer of worms in Ireland and the UK. He's sending them out to fishing tackle shops. He produces some 17 million worms here in Donegal. He's the biggest of his kind, and there's a byproduct of the whole worm production process. There's a product called worm cast, which he then uses for his organic compost.
That's the poo.
That's it, and it all mixes up. And then, as well as that, he's also growing wheatgrass using the compost, some of it mixed with other compost. And then he does a wheatgrass juice, and he also does turmeric and beetroot juice shots. So there's a lot happening. And I went down and visited the farm, and he showed me around the whole process and explained to me what it's all about.
What looks like mushroom tunnels is actually the worm tunnels. The worms, this is where we breed and keep the worms living. And they were all purpose built for worms, as opposed to, they look like mushroom tunnels, but there was never mushrooms in them, or purpose built.
So what exactly is inside them?
Each of the sheds has got about 300 6x4 wooden boxes, and they're tiered 4 high. Inside the box there's 200 litres of bedding material for the worms, and then there's about 5 to 7 kilos of worms. We put in 5 kilos, and after 4 weeks we'd hope we'd taken around 7 to 7.5 kilos of worms. They'll grow about, on average, about 0.1 of a gram per week. So they start out as about a centimetre long, about a millimetre thickness, and then they grow on to the size of a IKEA pencil, that sort of size of thing. Right. It's a 4-week cycle. So when the worms go in, they have to be taken out of their bedding material because they've eaten it through now, and it's sort of their feces at this stage, and they won't be happy in it. And after an hour cup, they'll start to lose weight and condition, so they're really going backwards. So you've got to get them out in time to keep the process moving forward.
Were you surprised at the scale of the operation, Chris? Well, the fact that it was happening at all, but also to just the scale on the scale to which it's happening.
Yeah, and he's providing local employment down there. There were forklift trucks. The noise in the background there, that was the machinery. The worms all being sorted out, and the compost and the whole process. And then he's bagging the compost, the Living Green brand. And if you go into a gardening store or many a hardware store, that's his product there, sold all over the country. So going in the right direction. And earlier this month he won the overall county and best established enterprise awards at the Donegal Enterprise Awards. So he's certainly a man going places.
All right then, listen, Chris, thank you very much indeed. The podcast is broadcast on Sunday after the 6 o'clock news, but it's available right now for you on our website, highlandradio.com, and previous episodes are there for you as well if you wish to binge it a bit. And Chris, if anyone wants to contact you.
Yes, you can email me at businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Still 12%, Chris. We're still providing 12%.
You'll be watching that all afternoon.
I'm going to have to take it off the screen. It's quite addictive. Right, okay. It's not changing, though, but it did refresh. Right, we have an update. It's now powering the equivalent of 12,709,000 TVs.
Sounds a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of tellies. Right, Chris, thanks very much indeed. Right, now, if you have your phone with you, if you bought a ticket for our car draw, we have a car worth over 30k. It's going to be given away next week. And we will be, we're going to ring someone now to see if they, are available to take this call. Hello, Mary McCallion, are you there? No? No, it's not. That's the right. Have we got an answer yet? Sorry, I have line 1 written here. No. Okay, that was maybe a misdialed number. Right, we're going to have to go back at that one. Back after these. Stay where you are.
Think outside the box with your photos this Christmas for canvas prints, Instablocks, mugs and photo books at mcgee's.ie. McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Christmas is the season of giving, but it can be difficult to know who on your list wants what. Save yourself the guesswork by giving the gift of choice. Whether you're buying for the foodie, fashionista or homebird of the family, they'll love a Dunnes Stores gift card. They can choose from everything we have in store and online, from fashion to homewares to groceries. It's the perfect choice to make this Christmas. Visit dunstores.com for details. Make Christmas for everyone. Terms and conditions apply.
Employers, Clever Cards is the only Irish company where you can order digital MasterCards online. Instantly email digital Clever Cards to your employees or contractors. Anywhere, anytime means late delivery never arises. Clever Cards are saved in your mobile phone, so you always know your balance. Small and large businesses use Clever Cards because they are accepted everywhere, online and in-store using Apple Pay or Google Pay contactlessly. First €1,000 tax-free. Order online now from clevercards.com. Clever Cards MasterCards are issued pursuant to Clever Cards interbank agreement with MasterCard. E-money's accessed with Clever Cards MasterCards are safeguarded and regulated by the Central Bank under EU Payment Service regulations. Clever Card is certified by Apple Pay and Google Pay. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello there. Christmas is the perfect time for saying thank you. And what better way than to give a Harvey's Point gift card. Available from the hotel on 07497 22208 or from harveyspoint.com. It's the gift that keeps on giving all year round. A Harvey's Point gift card.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And now the Highland Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. Widespread Christmas shopping this December in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Okay, getting to the weather very shortly, but we're going to have another rollover because we tried to ring a listener and the phone was ringing and then it went to the answer machine, and unfortunately that listener has missed out on the opportunity of winning €2,000. The phone, remember, and it's been very, very clear, the phone has to be answered within a set amount of rings for the person to win the money, and we tried and we got it through on air. But unfortunately, the person didn't answer the phone, which is heartbreaking, but there's not much else we can do. The person's name and number, goes back into the draw drum. And we're going to have to do it all again a little later on. It's just like the secret sound. If you don't get the answer, unfortunately, you get the And we really did try to get through to that person. But the phone wasn't answered, and that means we have a rollover. But some comfort in that the name goes back into the draw drum. What it means, though, later on, someone is going to be winning €3,000. Fingers crossed. It's awful because you think it's ringing and you think it's been answered and it goes to the message minder. But that is it, and that is the way we've been doing it from the get-go. And it's just a reminder that you have to make sure that you have that phone right beside you, if you can, to answer the call. So it rolls over. Again, I really wanted to give that away, but it rang, went to message minder. I did think for a split second that it had been answered, but unfortunately it was the message minder, and I had to pull the fader then too, so as not to divulge anyone's private information. But unfortunately, it's another rollover. €3,000 is hopefully going to be given away a little later on in the programme. James Granell is data analyst with the Irish Seismic Network. He joins us on the programme now. Good morning, James.
How's it going, Greg?
Not too bad at all. I was contacted by people. I think it was Monday anyway, or Sunday night, sorry. It was Monday morning. People had heard what they described as a loud bang or a bit of a rumble, James. And as it turns out, it was a relatively minor earthquake, but an earthquake nonetheless.
That's true, exactly, yeah. On Sunday morning, early enough, about 6:45 or 6:50, there was a magnitude 1.3 earthquake, and that was about 5 kilometres east of Kerrykeel. And we got a couple of reports from people, about 5 reports from people, mainly near Kerrykeel, that they had, like you said, they had heard this loud bang coming from up underneath the ground, and had woken them up, and some of them were pretty sure it was an earthquake already, because the people would have been experienced with this stuff in this area, as earthquakes are kind of common enough in Donegal, and certainly Fanny Peninsula has seen plenty of them over the past 10 years, all right.
And a deep one and low level I think the last one we had was around about 3.1. So this is quite relatively deep, is it, at 5 kilometres, and its magnitude at 1.3. Not insignificant, but particularly given its depth, quite minor in terms of an on the surface experience.
You're certainly right. Yeah, I think most people would have definitely heard it. I think the shaking wouldn't have been very strong at all. I think the one you're referring to earlier on was back in May. There was magnitude 2.5, and that was in Glenveigh National Park. And lots of people felt that, and certainly felt the shaking, and also definitely heard it as well. So one of the things about trying to estimate the depth at which earthquakes has occurred, it's much easier to get the latitude and the longitude, where on the map it occurred. Getting the depth is much harder. So when we say 5 kilometres, that's a rough estimate, but certainly it wouldn't be like 20, 30 kilometres deep happening. It would be close to the surface.
And funny enough, I think it was actually on Monday we were speaking to a lady who was encouraging more people to have equipment installed in their house. What are they? Strawberry shakes?
Raspberry shakes.
Raspberry. I'm just thinking of a takeaway now at this stage. So they, I went into a takeaway once and asked for a pink shake, and they were like, "What do you mean?" I don't know. I always get that wrong. But anyway, the more of those that we have, the more accurate our data is, presumably.
Exactly. Yeah. So the program you're referring to is a program called Quake Shake.
That's it.
That's run by the Dublin Institute for Advanced Studies. My colleague Laura Riley, she runs that.
That's Laura.
And so there's. It must have been, yeah. So the instruments she's talking about are raspberry shakes, and they're very, very small seismometers that can be easily installed in a household, for example. And with this particular earthquake that happened on Sunday morning, I just had a quick look, and there's a raspberry shake in Stranroller, and there's one in Sligo town, and there's one in Belfast, and they all saw this earthquake as well. So that's as far as about 120 kilometres away Belfast would be. So that's quite good, and actually with the raspberry shakes alone, you could actually locate this earthquake, which is another interesting thing. So the more of these that are kind of come online, the more accurately one can locate earthquakes, certainly.
Brilliant stuff, James. Thanks for your time. James Granell there, data analyst with the Irish Seismic Network. That 1.3 magnitude earthquake struck Fanad on Sunday the 10th of December at 6:48 a.m. So some of you might have felt it, some of you might have been up and about and around the place. Well, there you have it. That's what it was. Right, we were talking about loneliness as part of Wellness Wednesday. Loneliness, this caller says, I don't have anyone to hang out with, etc. I've been on my own for far too long. My friends moved on now, married with kids. Nobody calls or texts me. I'm so lonely. I need friends, most importantly now, so I don't suffer with loneliness and boredom. Well, if it might help, if you want to pass on in pure confidence where you're from and your age and your interests, maybe we can try and signpost you to something in your area, because there's lots of people in the exact same boat who come together with others and don't feel that way any longer. Hi, does anyone know where you can leave used crutches and support boots? Is it still the case that HSE don't often look for them back because they're seen as used items? But is there anywhere central that you can locate them so that they do get used? So if a set of crutches and a support boot there, and the caller wants to know, where's a good space to leave it? Where's a good spot to leave it? Right, Father Edward Gallagher is the parish priest in Moville. Father Edward, thank you very much for joining us. Unfortunately, it's under these circumstances, but indeed, we appreciate Greg. Your time nonetheless, Father. The Gardaí and you and all of us now are joining in appealing for information after the church sacristy was ransacked and damage was caused to a safe. Tell us when, what happened, Father Edward, if you don't mind.
Yes, as far as I'm aware, the guards may have been on their way to another call regarding one of the other burglaries, and they came upon Ballinacray Church, which is one of our isolated churches in the parish, and found lights on as they were passing. So they went in, saw that the main doors of the church had been prized open, the sacristy door had been kicked open, and they may have brought tools with them, or tools that they had already stolen from a previous burglary, and attempted to prise the safe out of the wall of the sacristy. May have used an angle grinder, tried to cut the hinges of it. But we don't keep money in the church. The chalices and other sacred vessels were left untouched. The various places where we leave things, cupboards and whatnot, were opened and left open. Some filing cabinets upstairs were opened and papers scattered. But the main damage is to the wall there where the safe was. A lot of upset more than anything. Thankfully, nothing appears to have been taken. But I'm more upset or concerned about, the sanctuary of the church building was defiled, but I think the sanctuary of various family homes around the parish that night, sometime between maybe 3 and 5 a.m., were defiled. Maybe up to 8 different incidents happened, between cars being broken into and Greencastle Golf Club and places around Shrove and elsewhere around near Kinnigo Bay. So, and particularly the family that lost Christmas presents and some birthday money as well.
And I think still, even though we hear about this, thankfully still it's a shock when a church is targeted like that. But is it a surprise any longer? Is anything sacred? We've seen, and unfortunately, this happened in the middle of the night, but we've seen in other parishes whereby, that open door policy, if the churches happen to be looked at, a greater focus on CCTV, because nowadays even a church isn't safe from people going in and causing extensive damage. Now, I do appreciate this was the middle of the night and they had to break in, but do you take my wider point, Father Edward?
I do indeed, and it's very sad that I have to maybe consider now, cameras for the church and the sacristy area and other 2 churches in the parish as well. But even this has to be considered nowadays, very, very upsetting. That ultimately it's an evil that's abounding around when people are doing these sort of things, and as I say again, upsetting families, their homes being defiled in this way, the sanctuary of the family home. You come down in the morning and find that someone's been in your home. It's really, really unsettling and upsetting, and also for the church, of course, community as well. Thankfully, none that when they come to church the next time, they not see anything has happened. It's happened in the sacristy area. The tabernacle was left untouched. But as I say, it's very upsetting for everyone in the general community, and also causes fear. Thank God nobody came upon these men or whoever they were, the gang, in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Because something worse could have happened.
Yeah, of course. And there's that sense, obviously in some cases there's loss, but it is that sense of violation and your security, being encroached on. Okay, Father, so hopefully anyone with information, these are clearly a group of individuals that are, they don't really have any moral compass, whether it's someone's house, whether it's a church. The sooner they're brought to the attention of Gardaí, the better. Father Edward Gallagher, thank you very much for helping us get the message out there, and hopefully
thank you, Greg, for ringing us.
All right, take care. Thank you very much indeed. So, St. Columba's Church is in Ballinacray, Moville. It was targeted on Monday, December 11th, in the early hours of Monday, so you could sort of say Sunday night, Monday morning. Sometime between midnight and 3:25, and it seems there was a group of individuals who were really quite active in the area at that time. So, as I say, the sooner they are dealt with by the Gardaí and the courts, the better. Right. Caller says, do you know that there are 500 housing bodies in the 26 counties? Imagine all these housing bodies will be getting a chunk of money from government. I appreciate that some of these bodies will be voluntary bodies, but how many are run by very well paid staff? Are they giving value for money? I think that your radio station's in a good position to ask our housing minister some hard questions about the housing budget and who is monitoring value for money here and how many houses have been delivered by the 500 housing bodies. Well, it seems in terms of housing or any sort of, it's hard to get access to anyone that kind of also has an interest in the defective concrete scandal, unfortunately. A caller says, GPs, now they charge you €50 and send you to casualty. There's no real doctors. A friend went in with pain in their ear. It was earwax. It was a young doctor and they had to ask another doctor what to do. They then sent them to the ED. If the doctors just did their jobs, ED wouldn't be so crowded. The older doctors are trained, but the younger doctors are not. Now, that's a big sweeping statement. I wouldn't fully subscribe to that. Look, you can go into your... There's lots of places that you can get your ears shringed outside of the ED. But anyway, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but and also we can't say that that's the case of everyone's experience with the general practice. What about the landlords housing these asylum seekers? It's them that are encouraging people into the country. Many are councillors or TDs. Right, okay, that's what some people feel. Let me play a couple of requests too. We're heading towards the end of the show. Donna Curran in Castlefin, who works in McFadden's, Letterkenny. A big happy 50th birthday from all the McNultys in Castlefin. Happy birthday, Donna. And good morning. Can you wish a very happy 21st birthday to Brina Duffy, who's working in the Market House in Clonmany today, from all her family and friends. Thank you. Have a lovely day, Brina. And you are there working in the Market House in Clonmany. Okay, right. Tomorrow on the show, we have another fantastic prize thanks to McGee's to give away. Later on today, unfortunately, I didn't have success in my cash draw call. It rang. We thought there was answer, but it went to message mind. So frustrating. But anyway, look, at that money rolls over now. Someone later today will be in with a chance to win $3,000 in cash. So please make sure you have your phone close by and try and answer it. Okay, we're back with you on air tomorrow morning at 9 from me, Greg Hughes, and the team. Have a lovely Wednesday.